Welcome, Christine. How are you today?
Ooh, boy, I am doing great, Em. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
It sounds a little like a talk show where I was like, "How are you today?" on my show, and you went, "Oh, good to be here."
I'm so happy to be here.
And I
Thank you
was
for
like,
having me.
"I'm glad you're here also, otherwise I'd be talking into space and I would look like a crazy person." Oh, I miss you, Christine. I haven't
I
talked to you
do
in a while.
too. I found a tweet yesterday that you had tweeted like, oh God, when we were on tour and I think it was 2018, like fall of 2018,
Oh
and
my.
you had posted a picture of me, Deirdre, and Linda like drinking wine
Ugh,
and looking around your mom's
wow.
house renovations. And it was so cute. I was like, I miss this. I miss you. I miss being able to hang out with you and drink wine with Linda. And oh,
I miss how the
those were
old
the
house
days.
looked, but
Yeah.
we can't all win. I no, I that was during our practice tour because we did, like,
Yeah, the mini one.
Philly, DC, and New York as, like, practice like, audience practice, which I don't think anyone
Oh,
knew before now, but we there was, like, our mini tour before we actually made a big tour, so, yeah,
yeah.
it was fun.
Oh,
I
so
missed
many
showing
fun
you my
times.
town even though we were only there for a hot second, but
I know, but it was such a beautiful friendship moment where I got to see where you grew up. Anyway, I'm feeling nostalgic this week. How are you?
uh, I'm okay. I'm fine.
What's wrong?
No, it's no,
You can
nothing.
tell me. No one's listening.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. I just wanna apologize in advance. I have a big old cup of water here. Oh, your brother
Mine
just
has
texted me.
mine has lemons on it. Wait, why? What does he want?
None your business. Uh,
Uh-huh.
we've got a friendship, it's fine.
He texted me too. Is this a group text or did he text you about something
He
different?
texted me individually. He said, "Ha ha ha, yeah, Christine sucks." I'm just
I love that you just phrase it as a way that like, in a way to imply that you said it first and he was agreeing with you, so screw you.
it's like I woke up and said, "Good morning, Zandy. Your sister's terrible." And he went, "Ha ha." Um, no, I wanna apologize because I have a big cup of water with me. I was using my microphone for something else yesterday, and I realized there was a very weird sound, and I also saw someone tweet out, that my audio didn't sound too clear in the last episode, that it sounded kinda
Oh.
crackly, and at first I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then when I used the microphone, I was like, "I know exactly what they're talking about." And here's the thing, I had my dosage for my ADHD meds changed,
Oh.
so we're back to the I'm currently, like, having, like, a hot flash and I'm freezing at the same time, and
Oh,
I have
no.
dry mouth again, so the sound that someone was hearing was literally my gross spit trying to save itself and, like, go on for dear life.
Like parachuting away.
So, I'm gonna stay hydrated as often as I can this week, so hopefully you don't hear that sound anymore.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm trying to hydrate, but only because my skin is dry. That's all. I don't have any fun reasons for it.
Oh, well, that's fine. You look great, though. Just
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. I haven't washed my hair in 3 days, so I really appreciate it.
I'll text your brother about it later, though, it's fine.
I'm sure you will, and I'm sure he's already sent
Like,
it.
"No, Christine, you look great."
You look awesome. Ha 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 ha.
No, other than I mean, I'm fine. I just like, ugh, I gotta do this all over again. So, anyway,
Oh, wait, I have something fun. So, have you watched the show that everyone keeps trying to tell us to watch, called
the suffering death or
No,
death
Surviving Death,
surviving
Suffering
death,
Death. That sounds like my kind of content, Suffering Death, but
surviving death.
Surviving Death,
I have not seen
I
it, but I
am obsessed,
okay.
obsessed. I watched all of the episodes. They're each like an hour. They're like movie length. I watched all 6 of them.
Oh,
And, my sister came over for a little sister sleepover, and I'm we ordered Indian, and we watched, like, 3 or 4 of the episodes, and she was we were legitimately kind of freaked out. Each episode's something different, like, some of them are past lives, some of them which, is just, like, my jam. Some of them are about mediums, some of them are about, like, seeing dead people or near-death experiences. It is Oh, they talk a lot about, like, spiritualism and stuff and have the old photos. Oh, and the Society for Psychical Research is,
oh,
like,
I'm a part of that.
headlined.
Fun
I
fact.
know, they're, like, headlined the whole thing, and they talk about all the, like, founders, and oh my god, it's so good and so interesting, so thank you to everyone who recommended it.
Okay.
Netflix knew I wanted to watch it, and they were like, "Please just finally do it," and
Netflix knows that I wanna watch it too because it's all that shows up, but I just haven't, and I don't know what my deal is. I think it's part of my commitment issues where everyone's like, you have to watch this thing. And now I'm like, ugh, now there's this pressure on me where I better enjoy it. And then I freak out. Then I'm like, I shouldn't watch it because now what if I'm disappointed? But then I decide a year later to watch it and I'm like blown away. And everyone else is like, yeah, okay, we knew that. We told you.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you and I are both similar in that way where somebody tells us to do something and we don't want to do it. But then you and I are also, we're not above saying, oh, I never saw it if we watch it and hate it.
I mean, Marvel Monday has really become a place where people suggest like really, I'm sure, amazing content. But every time I'm like, I'll add it to the list, but like I can't confirm that I'm gonna see this. Like, I'm so
There's
sorry.
no list. I have a surprise fact for all of you. There's no list.
There's a list that is not written down anywhere. It's a running list in my mind of like things I haven't done, and like it's just I call it the disappointment list. Um, but no, okay, it does sound interesting. I'm not gonna lie, but I will say what happens in 2 days from now, which by the time this comes out, my brain will have exploded.
What?
Is on Friday, WandaVision comes out.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God, Christine, I have to tell you.
What?
Oh, okay, because you're on the East Coast now, I have to call Eva in frenetic panics now because you're asleep in the middle of the night.
Oh,
But Eva's still
sorry.
awake. So I called her. I'm pretty sure this happened. I called her intentionally so I wouldn't think this was a fever dream. Um, I need to tell you something big, and everyone needs to
What?
know, and nobody can talk about it on Twitter because we can't get me in trouble.
What did you do?
So I went on Bumble BFF, and I think I don't. Oh, literally, that person just texted me. So
No.
that's fun. That's a sign.
What is it?
That so I became friends with someone on Bumble BFF, and this is like the first one to hit it off. This is the first one who has made it past
Yeah,
the.
we just talked about how we both deleted the app.
Yeah, well, here I
Oh
am.
god, I can't keep up with M.
So she's passed the test on Bumble conversations. She graduated to, hey, let's exchange social media.
Ooh.
And then she graduated to, here's my number. And we've been texting. Homie's cousin is friends with the Scarlet Witch.
No.
And when I tell you,
Wait, who's the Scarlet Witch? What's that?
my
I'm sorry.
just smile
This
and
is
nod at
on
me the other
behalf of
way.
all the, listeners who are like, "I don't know what that is." Don't worry, I don't either, but let's pretend. Oh
It's
my god,
Marvel.
that's crazy.
I know it's Marvel. It's Marvel. So first of all my new true love, because remember I told you a while ago I kind of retired my love for Miss Brie, and I needed to.
No, you literally never told me that.
Huh, interesting. I've been telling a lot of people and I lose track, but
Thanks.
yeah, Miss Brie, something happened. I fell out of love. It was just a really intense love, and it was, I think, bound to kind of hit a dead end.
Was it the time that that one person that I won't mention, because I also don't remember their name, was like, "She's actually kind of a bitch," and you and I were like, "Why would you say that to us?"
Oh, and it was someone who might actually know her.
Yeah, and it was like a working relationship that we couldn't jeopardize.
I was like, "Oh, could you maybe introduce us one day to Miss Brie?" And they were like, "I don't think you want that." And I was like, "Oh,
That
do
was
tell,
really rude.
do tell." But also, my heart's broken.
Ouch.
No, that wasn't it. There was genuinely something where I came to a realization where I was in love with Captain Marvel, played by Miss
Mhm.
Brie, versus Miss
Oh,
Brie herself.
got it.
So then I was like, oh, now I gotta love someone who like isn't just a superhero. And then I found I was sleeping on, let's be clear, Elizabeth Olsen. I always thought she was a cutie pie, but Miss Brie had my heart, so I wasn't paying attention. Love is
Sure.
blind, except not because I was looking at Miss Brie. But
The
uh,
cardboard cutout in the background, yeah.
I think I was primed to love her because she was in my home all the time. But
Right.
I mean, Elizabeth Olsen has always been a honey, and Scarlet Witch is like very beautiful. Let's just leave it at that. I could go
Okay.
on and on and on. But so within the last during quarantine, I have really discovered my real feelings for her. And she's Scarlet Witch, and she's like the next big brain melting sensation of Marvel, which comes out on Friday. Uh,
Wow.
it's the first of like 5 Marvel TV series that are coming out that are all connected to the movies, and it's going. I'm not. I know you don't care, and I'm not going to get
I
into
care.
it.
I care because you care.
Yes, but you wouldn't understand any of the words that come out of my mouth because they're like literally Marvel alien words. But let's just say that this TV series, one Marvel in general, is going to explain like 10 different movies. It's like has things that are going to answer all these questions we've been having. And it's just me getting to look at Elizabeth Olsen for 6 hours. Anyway, Bumble BFF person can maybe be my connection to
That
her,
that's pretty crazy.
which means if we hung out of politeness, at some point she'd have to be like, so what do you do for a living? And then I'd have to mention the podcast. And then she'd like, an Avenger would know our podcast. And then I would also pray she
Wow.
wouldn't ever listen, especially to this
This is
episode.
the hidden episode nobody can know.
That's why I'm saying nobody even tag her as a joke. Cause like if I become friends with her, she can't know that this happened, that this
No.
conversation is out in the world. She
You
can't
gotta
know.
play it cool.
For
Yeah.
for the chance at me getting to know an Avenger and being 1 degree away from Captain America, please God don't mention this, but everyone just squeal together across the nation.
Yay!
The
I'm
end.
very happy for you. I'm very excited. This is very big news. Thank you for telling me.
You're telling me. Okay. Anyway. Wow. Okay. Anyway.
Are you should we cancel the recording? Are you okay?
I'm
Okay.
not, but we should cancel
No.
so I can breathe for a second. Anyway, welcome to That's Why We Drink, where we tell a paranormal and true crime story. I have a story for you, Christine. Would you like to hear it? No.
We'll give it a minute to decide.
Okay, I'll sip my water and rehydrate, wetten my whistle.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. By the
I
way,
got time.
Did you ever go here in Boston, Regina Pizzeria?
Yeah, in Boston, yeah. I was like, they have one in LA? Oh yeah, I miss Boston pizza. I miss
Best fucking
Boston.
pizza.
I miss Boston pastries. Oh my god, I miss Boston a lot.
I really Boston cuisine,
Great
like
Italian,
old Italian,
everything.
like mob Italian.
Yeah, like the OG Italian. Oh, so good.
If you're in Boston, I
And
currently
Polish food. Oh, so good.
especially if you're in the north end and you go to that Regina Pizzeria, the original one, if you are within walking distance of their meatball slice, I'm so fucking jealous of you. Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores, offering eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses.
Glasses start at just $95, which includes prescription lenses. Sunglasses, progressives, and blue light lenses are also available. Really, any kind of eyewear you need, get on it. Warby Parker has it.
You can order a home try-on kit and you share your experience with whoever you want. For example, Christine, when she did it, she sent it out to the masses on Twitter, and everyone had an opinion about each of the 5 glasses, but it ended up working out because Christine picked some really delightful frames.
I did. I listened to all of you on Instagram for one of them, and I was like, fine, I'll take your advice on this one. But then the other one that everyone was being like, I don't know, a little Jeffrey Dahmer-esque, I was like, that's the one for me. Thank you, Warby Parker.
Well, guess what? I think I have to buy those now. Thank you,
They're mine.
WP. Try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There's no obligation to buy. It ships free and includes a prepaid return shipping label.
Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/drink. So I have a new hobby, it's not a new hobby, it's an old hobby, but I like to talk about it as if it were new. It's called Best Fiends, and I play it constantly, no matter what I'm doing. And guess what level I'm on, Em?
1 billion at this point. What? Where are you?
I'm on level 860.
Oh my gosh, Christine. Wow. That really gave me chills. Oh my God.
I'm like so proud, and also like, wow, I'm pretty talented, I think.
Okay, well, if you want to be like Christine, Best Fiends is the infamously impossible to put down puzzle game that's free to download, and with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must play.
So we all love a good puzzle. Best Fiends gives you over 5,000 of them, so I'm clearly nowhere even near completing all of them. Thank God.
People that Christine hasn't even caught up to yet, which is just beyond. I never thought I could get this far. I never thought I'd get to level 800, but also it's so like you just can't put it down. So
no,
it's
you
pretty
really
easy
can't.
to get there, actually.
It is. You might find yourself wondering how you ever had time for a dull moment before. It's like my go-to now. I don't know how I functioned without it. And you can also download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends.
Okay, here's your story, Christine. You waited long enough. This is an urban. I feel like it's not right to call it an urban myth. It's kind of just a.
Uh-oh. Sorry, my dad just texted me and said, I'm walking to your house with tea. You can't do that.
Oh my God, are we about to have a guest appearance of Bernie?
No, no.
Are you just
walking across the bridge to Kentucky. I'm like, turn around.
This is why you can't move closer to your
I know.
family
Why do
and
they
then
do
say,
this?
"Hey, hi, I have a job where I'm home all the time. Pop on over."
Okay, I just said I can't see you right now. But he has cookies. What do I do?
We
Why is
just
he doing this? He literally, I haven't seen him in weeks, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm walking to your house from across the bridge, across the state line.
I love you, but you chose this life. You chose it. You paid for it too, because you literally moved across the country.
I did.
This
I'm
is
gonna say
what you
Blaze
did.
is here if you want to see him. Poor Blaze.
I was gonna say poor Blaze. He's gonna be like me and my father-in-law just eating cookies.
Just eating cookies, talking about my dad's e-bike that he's obsessed with. He rides his e-bike around the bridge to come see me.
That's
Anyway,
precious.
sorry. I just panicked. I'm glad I had my like texts on here because he would have shown up and that would have been chaotic.
You know
So
what would have happened if I lived within walking distance of my father? He would not bring me cookies. That's for damn sure. I would try to bring him cookies and he'd text me and be like, "Get off my property." Like
he wouldn't text you. He would, what is it? He would,
he would
remember when he discovered the cloud? He would just climb into the cloud and be like, get out, get off my cloud.
he would just scream at me until I heard him on the cloud, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I got it. I'm off." Okay,
Oh,
so
daddy, sorry if you hear this. My bad.
it's okay. Enjoy your bike and your cookies and your bridge.
Enjoy your e-bike.
Sounds like a classic 60-year-old man, by the
Sounds
way.
like a dad move, right? Yeah, he loves his e-bike.
So it was originally considered an urban myth. I'm gonna say more it's like a legend
Ooh,
location. Just because it's got some historical stuff to it, but also there's I'm just gonna tell you what it is.
can I
It's
guess
called,
it?
you
Oh,
can, you
I
can.
was gonna say Atlantis, but probably not.
No, no.
Oh.
I Atlantis, I think, would be too big of a story
A
for me to
huge
be
one.
downplaying like this.
Yeah.
Um, Not that this isn't an important story, but this is me telling about Pyramid Lake,
Ooh, what's
which
that?
so it's I don't know. I keep trying to define it. It's a location that happens to have some legends and lore to it. Let's just say that.
Okay.
So it's 35 miles northeast of Reno, Nevada.
Nevada.
Okay, I always want to
Oh,
say
wait.
Nevada.
Update, good news. My dad says new estimated time of arrival is 4:30 p.m.
Take me
So
out.
now he's just waiting till we're done recording. Sorry. I was sweating a lot, so I needed everyone to feel relaxed with me, you know?
The fact that he is giving you an ETA on the bridge, on the
On the
cloud.
bridge! On the bridge!
What's your bridge
Oh,
ETA? I gotta know, Bernie.
poor Bernie has to turn around on his e-bike on the bridge.
Now you've given him a reason to ride again.
You're
Today.
right.
So
Another ride, another bridge, another set of cold cookies now, I guess. Although he
another
doesn't make cookies. What is he talking about? They're probably like fiber cookies or something
You probably
gross.
got them from one of your weird German bakeries where I couldn't pronounce anything. So
Okay, can I say one quick thing? I'm sorry. For
what?
Christmas, my dad gave me wrapped up a wine decanter, and I was like, "Well, that's really thoughtful," because my dad, no offense, but he gives really strange gifts that usually aren't applicable to life.
Most fathers do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. And so I was like, "Wow, a wine decanter. That's kind of like thoughtful." And so I was like, "Thanks, Dad." And he's like, "Well, did you open it?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, open the box." And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
"Stop. What have you done?" It was filled with granola bars from Costco, like Kirkland brand granola bars, and dried blueberries from Kirkland brand Costco. And I was like, "Dad, why have you done this?" And he was like, "Well, remember I told you I bought Halloween candy for all the kids, and you refused to come pick it up."
Is that
Um,
Halloween candy?
that's literally what he gave out to children on Halloween was dried
How did he
blueberries
not
and
wake
granola
up
bars.
how did he not wake up on November 1st with egg and toilet paper
I'm
all over
telling
his
you, and
fucking house?
I was like, "I'm really busy, I can't pick up those candies you told me about." So I never picked them up, so instead, for Christmas, months later, he put them in a wine decanter box to fucking get me when I'm my guard is down, and then
Well,
it was filled with granola bars, and I was like, "Wait, so where's the wine decanter?" He's like, "Oh, I'm using it for myself," and I was like, "Well, you don't drink," and he's like, "I know, I put my orange juice in it."
this man is
So
every father feels like they're also wondering if they're senile. Like
I
they're kind
know.
of dancing around, putting things in places for no random
Like,
specific people.
I was like, "You don't drink and you live alone." And he was like, "I know, but I put my orange juice in it." Anyway, I just had to say that because when he says I'm coming over with cookies, I'm like, "Are they cookies or are they blueberries from Costco that are
Or
3
are
months old?"
they slates of stone by the pond? Like where
It's entirely possible. It's always Kirkland brand though, so don't worry.
I love a good Kirkland brand. He's onto something there.
Anyway, I'm so sorry.
Please,
Continue.
I think he should apologize. I think you're
He certainly should apologize. I'm still waiting on that apology card, and it has not arrived.
oh my gosh. Ugh. You know what? And all I thought that whole time was like, your brother is in danger because he is turning exactly into your father.
He is.
Remember, for a logical reason, he gave you a piñata of beans for your birthday.
For a logical reason that he then put on the internet and was like, it's hilarious. And everyone was like, literally, what are you doing,
At
Sandy?
least he knows that he should film his mistakes.
That's
And
true. At least he uses it for entertainment value and YouTube views. That's
you guys
right.
should try. You should just do a thing where you start giving your dad as weird of shit as he
Maybe I
gives
should.
you, and just see what his reaction is. Because to
Yeah.
him, it might make total sense. He's like,
Good
"Oh,
point.
oh, a piñata of beans." I don't know how to do a German accent, and he'd be like, "This is perfect." It would make
Okay, well, I gave him a yo-yo because I always try really hard with my gifts for him, and usually it's kind of like, oh, that's nice, okay. But this year I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a yo-yo. I feel like he would like a yo-yo, so I gave him a yo-yo, not knowing what would happen. He opened that yo-yo. He started walking around the house with it, and he goes, did I ever tell you about Billy Panama? And I was like, what? And he's like, Billy Panama came to my town in Germany and he did all these yo-yo tricks on stage and he had a free bike for anyone who could do the same yo-yo tricks. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you could just like give your dad something random,
Your
weird.
father sounds like if he grew up in like the 20s, he would have been like that guy who always spoke and scat or rhymed. Like just like and he would disappear into the shadows after he gave
Weird bowler hat, yeah. Ah.
okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Hey,
Go on.
Pyramid Lake. Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Dad, stop interrupt. He needs to be involved at all points at
And
all
we
times.
allow it, by the way.
That's the problem. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening now fully.
Tell him that next time I hear from him, I want a scat about beans and piñatas and bricks and cookies.
He's going to say, "What is a piñata?"
And then at the end he'll go, "Happy Halloween." Okay. Pyramid Lake is 35 miles northeast of Reno. Let's try the fourth word of my notes again. Nevada?
Yeah.
I always want to say Nevada. Okay. Fun fact about Pyramid Lake is it's also one of the iPad's home screens.
Oh,
Fun fact.
that is a fun fact.
Here's a funner one. One of the most famous home screen pictures is called Bliss. And it was taken in 96 and then in 2006. Here was one of my deep dives. Can you tell? And then in 2006, like as a 10-year anniversary, the photographer retook the same picture. So you
Is
can.
it the drop? The water drop? No.
I don't think so. It's a side, but you can do like a side by side and see how they look after 10 years.
Cool.
Anyway, so Pyramid Lake is fun facts about the lake is that it is 125,000 acres, which makes it one of the largest natural lakes in the state. And another fun fact is it's only 10% of the area of the Great Salt Lake in Utah, but it holds 25% more volume.
Real hat. Oh.
Whoa, man.
How?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But anyway, so it's smaller but deeper, I suppose.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
Okay. Not a scientist. Okay, so the Pyramid Lake is also the only habitat in the entire world for a specific type of fish that's been around for over 2 million years.
Oh.
The fish are called Kiwi.
Okay.
Okay. And so that name comes into play in a second. So the native people who lived here originally were called the Paiute Tribe, and their traditional name was actually Kiwi. Kiwi Taikata, I think, and it meant like that type of fish eaters. So they ate that fish.
Love it.
So that was their original name, or what they called themselves, I guess. I'm not really totally sure what a traditional name is, but we now know them historically as the Paiute Tribe.
Okay.
So they lived there blissfully until 1844, and then fucking white men happened.
They always do.
And specifically, one of the guys, his name was John C. Fremont, who discovered it.
Yes.
He walked up to all the people there and said, "I found this," and they went, No.
Look what I found.
Right. Imagine
God.
if you're holding candy. Oh, I'm sorry, like a Triscuit or whatever your dad fucking gave you.
Blueberries, dried blueberries.
And then I grab them out of your hand, and then I give them back and say, "Look, I found these for you." Except instead of
Except
giving
you
them
can't have
back,
it.
and also instead of giving them back, I kill you. Yeah.
And
Um,
that's a great analogy you just created there.
I don't
Really
even know if that's I'm
spot
not a historian,
on.
okay? Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm not a historian, but I know enough to say that white men fucking suck. So in 1844, John C. Fremont, quote, discovered it and named it Pyramid Lake. So I don't like that it's named what the white
Yeah.
guy with the colonizer fucking called it, but that is what we call it today.
I'm shocked you didn't call it Fremont Lake, but okay.
Amen.
Honestly.
Amen. So apparently Pyramid Lake, he picked that name with his big genius man brain, because there was a pyramid shaped rock in the lake. And
Oh,
but
wow.
the rock itself was called Tufa Rock. So why wouldn't you just fucking call it Tufa Lake then if you wanted to
Because
be
it's a big old pyramid.
aha, well, that's why. So the lake also was the site of the Paiute War or the Pyramid Lake War, um, between the northern Paiutes and the colonizers. So when that area was being settled, or I guess different, and like the northwest area of Nevada, when it was being settled, it was no surprise, a massive disruption to the Paiute people in terms of like
Mm.
their food and grazing lands. Um, and like, let's not forget the fact that the colonizers were kidnapping and assaulting. I'm just saying that word so no one feels triggered, but very aggressively assaulting the women and girls in that tribe.
Mhm.
So, in retaliation, the Paiutes decided that they were going to raid one of the colonizers' businesses. It was called the William Station. It was basically like a saloon, stagecoach, like a stagecoach station and a general store hybrid. It was like all three of those things in one. So they decided they were going to raid William Station. And the raid happened on May 6th, 1860. 76 colonizers died, and we don't know how many Paiutes died, but we know up to 500 fought in this.
Oh, wow.
So we don't even know if 0 to 500, and I'm guessing it's not zero.
Right.
Um, so people say this is kind of like one of the little ghostly tales of this is that people say that you can still see the colonizers from this, excuse me, from this battle riding around the lake. Um, Also, another thing about the lake is that its original lake that it was a part of. So I think this is just like a small part of a once bigger lake. It was called Lake Lahontan, and that lake, or the lake as we know it now, was formed about 2 million years ago, around the same time that those fish showed up.
They just showed up. Moved on in.
They're like, we didn't like it when this place was bigger, but we like that it's cozy now.
Thank you.
Um, so the just this part, I'm not sure about Lake Lahontan or its history or why we only talk about this part of that lake now, but according to Paiute legend, Pyramid Lake was actually made from the tears of Stone Mother. Um,
Oh,
and so I'm
wow.
going to tell that legend. That's very interesting. I'd never heard of it. So um, I refer to the man as Man because I don't know his name. I just said man the whole time.
Mhm.
So, also because there was a quote I was going off of for this story. I tried to paraphrase it, but the first sentence was, um, there was a man known as the father of all natives in the area. And so I just call him Man. So he was known as the father of all natives. He came to the area and he lived in the mountains. And while he was here, he met a woman in town. And this woman liked him, but was married to someone else named Bear, which is a dope name.
That's my dad's nickname. He goes by Bear. Just fun fact. Fun fact for
Little,
everybody.
little Bernie Bear.
He literally signs his emails with a emoji of a bear. He discovered
That's so
emojis this year.
sweet.
Yeah, he loves it.
That's actually pretty heart melting. You should have really stopped there when you were introducing him to people. It just been
The
like,
end.
this is the guy who signs himself as an emoji. Also,
I try.
nothing else happens.
I
That's
try, but then he shows up on his e-bike and I'm like, I can't control his actions, you know?
I wish Wow, now that I know that, wow.
Anyway, sorry, bear, yeah, got it.
So, man, who's the father of all, uh, m meets this woman when he comes into the area, and the woman likes him, but she's
Mhm,
already married to Bear. I guess they're having
right.
some troubles at home, and she's looking for a way out. And Bear could sense this. He was very jealous of the man.
Oh, no.
So one day, Bear and the woman got in a fight. I assume over the man. I'm not sure though. And she ended up winning the fight. She knocked him down and killed him with a club.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Women. And she ran off and she was like, I'm going to go find the man. And she knew that he lived in, I think it was called Stillwater Mountain in the area. She's like, I'm going to go find him. So during her, I feel like my mouth feels dry, which means people's ears are probably bleeding. So let me,
Oh, I don't hear it, but you do you.
okay. So, a part of the legend is all of her travels and what she experiences on her quest to find the man in the mountain.
Sure.
One of them happens to be that she found a giant who wanted to eat her, so she killed him by turning him
Oh.
into stone. So she's 2 for 2 on the murder so far.
Oh, no.
But she turned him into stone, and you can apparently still see him today. So there's a rock formation that's known as the giant that tried to kill the woman. Um, and so finally she gets to Stillwater Mountain where the man is. And once she sees him, she hides from him because she's afraid that he won't like her back.
Oh,
So, which is
wait.
very, it's like it's somehow typical behavior of what all of us have done at some point, like working
Yep,
really hard to get to that one thing, but then you won't follow through at the end.
yep, you're too scared.
So, so she's hiding, and at some point he sees like the woman's tracks and is like, "Can you just come out? I know someone's hiding."
You're not great at
It
hiding.
literally feels like in high school when you like hide behind your own locker, but you're also much wider than a locker, and
Yeah,
everyone's
and,
like,
like, your feet are on the ground, yeah.
and it's wide open in an empty hall.
Oh my
And
god.
the guy's like, I see you. Can you just talk to me?" Um,
Aw.
so she climbs out of her little hiding spot, and he sees that she's really tired from her travel, asks her to stay and if she wants any food. And while he's feeding her, he asks her to stay with him in the mountains. I think that means indefinitely, not like, hey, you want to hook up. I think it means
Uh-huh,
something more intimate than like you trying to
yeah,
not go
get
home at
some.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wetting the whistle.
I think it's whet the whistle.
I don't want to even do that because my whistle isn't
Well,
wet
don't
enough.
do that. Yeah, never mind.
So she ends up staying the night, but first of all, imagine I'm sure there's like some really like wonderful part to this legend, but the way that I was trying to paraphrase it makes it sound like it's like kind of sillier than it might be. Or maybe it's meant to be silly. I'm not totally sure of the context here, but I got a chuckle out of it. I don't know if I'm supposed to, so sorry if that's offensive, but um he asks her to stay the night, but then she like refuses to be anywhere near him, so she sleeps outside by the fire. And then every night that she stays, she gets closer and closer to him every night, like she's
Aw.
learning to trust him. But it was just like she's sleeping by the fire, and then she won't go in the house, but she's sleeping by the door. And it's like
Aw.
I'm imagining like this guy's perspective of like, wow, I invited this girl to stay, and she like imagine it's like a Tinder date, or I guess if it's not supposed to be a hookup or whatever, but imagine having someone stay over for the first time and she's like, I'm gonna fall asleep on the floor by the door over here.
Outside in the
Like,
front yard.
how about you just go home at that point? It's okay.
Yeah,
Like, I'll just
aw.
call you tomorrow. But anyway, as time goes on, she gets closer and closer, almost as if she's learning to trust him more and more.
Aw.
And when I say as time goes on, I mean 5 days alone, like
LOL.
not even a full week. By the fifth day, she marries him.
Oh.
So her trust level went from literally negative a million to 1,000 real quick. Um, so I guess he was doing something right. She was probably like, "This guy doesn't think I'm weird for sleeping by the fire." So I
That's
guess
true, it's a great test.
she was testing him all along. Ladies and gays, if gays, theys, and ladies, why am I saying that? If you really want to test your man, sleep outside on your first night together. And
Yeah.
don't he's not welcome. The
Yeah,
further
you just make him sleep outside. That sounds exhausting and cold.
that's Actually, that's the new
Hmm.
age version. That's
Yeah, I see. Okay.
that's 2021 thinking right there. Okay. So kick him out of his own house, make him sleep in nature, and you sleep on his bed, comfy, and then in 5 days, if it works, you know he's the
Marry
one.
him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or marry him if you're that quick to rush into
And
things.
also don't tell anyone we told you to do that because it seems like terrible advice.
Another thing you should not tag us in on Twitter after this
Yes,
episode.
please.
So anyway, they get married, they have kids, I guess on day 6 at this point, I don't know. But their firstborn is a troublemaker, like not a cool dude.
Oh.
And apparently they have a lot of kids. A few of them are troublemakers and a few of them are not. And one day the troublemakers and the non-troublemakers started getting in a fight, or they were
Oh.
just like sibling banter. And the man got really frustrated and decided he was going to separate them, which like that sounds fair. Like, okay, you
Mhm.
go in this corner, you go in this corner.
Time out.
Time out, as in like you go over there and take a breather and later you come back. No.
Oh. Oh, no.
He
Okay.
wanted to separate them.
Oh, no.
And so this is a quote from him, which like sounds exactly like something my fucking mother would say to me. I want you to
Uh-oh.
think of the most culturally Jewish woman with her wonderful like ability to guilt her child into anything. Ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to separate you now. I shall go up to my home in the sky, and when you die, you will come to me.
I will be in my home in the sky, and I want you to think about what you've done to send me there.
My mother's like, think of your dead mother while you disappoint me while you're
You're
at it.
sending me to an early grave. Oh my god. It's the most motherly guilt trip ever.
There are so many times in my childhood where I can think of the most mere inconvenience I gave my mother, and she's like, I'm gonna die one day. And you know what?
Oh
You're
my
gonna
god.
think about this exact.
Oh my god.
But I'm not alone here. I feel like there's quite a few cultures where
Uh-huh.
there are it's known to like, oh, your mother's gonna really make you fucking hate yourself for
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'll still tell her today, I'm like, you destroyed me. And she'll be like, I did nothing. Also, I
That's
could
oh,
die
that's
tomorrow, so don't say things like that to me
how could you even say such a thing? Yeah, my mother still is like, "I would never say that." And I'm like, "What do you think I just make it all up?" She's like, "Yes, I
now.
think you invented all of it."
My mom's like, where did I go wrong? And I'm like,
Let me count the
let
ways.
me, let me take that scroll that weighs 50 pounds and throw it into the sea as I read step by step.
Throw it
Um,
into her house in the sky or whatever the hell.
well, I mean, this couldn't sound more like my mother. And when I say couldn't, I don't mean like hypothetically, like this is something my mother has said to me.
I'm gonna go to my house in the sky.
I'm gonna die now because I can't tolerate you. And when
Oh,
you come up, maybe
no.
you'll feel bad by then.
Oh.
Um, okay, here's the full quote. I'm going to separate you now. I shall go up to my home in the sky. When you die, you'll come to me. All you have to do is then it gets like really existential. All you have to do is follow the dusty road, which apparently is the Milky Way.
Mm.
You will reach my home where I shall be waiting. Someday I hope that you will all come to your senses and live together in peace. So it like
Aw.
ends on yeah, exactly. That's how they get you, Christine.
That is oh, no, it's
Go for
working.
it. It
It's
went,
again,
I'm gonna
always.
die, and this isn't even manipulative or toxic, but also I'm gonna finish this off with something that's warm.
And now what are you gonna do? Anyway, bye.
Anyway, now I'm gonna get away with it 100 more times in your childhood. Okay.
Oh, no.
So true, like old school father fashion, he takes the troublemaker kids and tells them to go west. And then they never come back.
Oh,
Oh
bye,
my
I
God.
guess.
He was like, get the troublemakers out of here. The ones that haven't caused me trouble, you can stay. But then they have this like additional guilt because he's like, take care of your mother. And then he basically dies.
Expires. Okay.
He walks up the mountains by himself and eventually walks so high he reaches the sky. And I think that's kind of like a leaving Earth. He's
Sure,
leaving.
sure, sure.
But it's just like, okay, you go over there and never return. You take care of your mother because I'm not here anymore. Also, I'm gonna die. Catch me when you can.
Catch me later.
But I mean, it's just like I know that this. I'm not trying to poke too much fun at this story, but it's just like that particular part. I read it in like the
It's so
middle.
relatable.
I read it in the middle of the night, and I was like, "Am I reading my diary? What is happening?"
You're reading my diary. Walk up the Milky Way and you'll find me amongst the stars. The dusty road leads. It's a Green Day lyric, actually.
It was. I mean, I understand the message. That's not totally passing me, but it was just like I was really invested in this story, but then it was a bunch of sharp turns of like she's outside, but then they're married, but then they have kids, but then the dad like goes into the sky.
Says
So,
goodbye. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it is very relatable. Wow.
so I really hope I'm not upsetting anybody by poking fun at it. I don't at all mean that it's not
No,
an
it's a great story.
important story. It's just I'm seeing some inconsistencies and it's kind of wild. Anyway, so the troublemakers who went off to the west, uh that story tells the history of how the Pit Rivers tribe was created apparently because all the people out west they originally came from this area but then they moved west. So
Oh,
I hope I'm not butchering that, but the story goes that the children who went off built their own tribe and they became the
sure.
Pit Rivers, but then the people who stayed home are the people who became the Paiutes.
The good guys, by the way. I love that they're like, we're the
Yeah,
non-troublemakers.
that's I didn't I read that too and I was like, I wonder if there's a little like friendly rivalry between
Uh-huh.
them. But so anyway, he walks up the mountains and up into the sky. I'm gonna drink some water real quick.
Go for it.
Um, so the Paiutes, the children that were still at home, they were apparently, still not making any trouble. They were, strong together as a family, but the whole time the mother mourned over her children who went west. I mean, she lost her kids.
Right.
Which also then, like, let's talk about the toxic father figure there of like, I'm going to rip your children away from you.
Oh, true.
Which I don't even know if that's something that was considered at this time, but I read it in the mindset of a 2021 person, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's troubling.
But so she mourned her children going out west and never coming back. So she cried and cried and cried, and she apparently cried more and more each day. So one day the woman
Oh,
goes out to the mountain and she's looking towards the Pit River land, and she just sat there and cried until her tears formed a lake, which became Pyramid Lake.
oh, I just got a little goose cam.
I know. So she sat there and cried for so long that she herself turned to stone. And she still sits there to this day. And there is a rock formation at Pyramid Lake called Stone Mother.
Wow,
So it
that's
becomes,
such a cool story.
yeah, I have like shit. Like, I
Me
mean,
too.
it becomes really powerful. I mean,
It is.
it's so, anyway, it tells the story of how this lake came to be,
Right.
is what I was trying to get at. So, so, sorry, real quick, because I'm about to start a new part of the topic.
No, you're good. I'm gonna tell Blaze to clean up downstairs since my dad's coming over.
Just right. I hope you're hungry for cookies.
Quote unquote cookies.
I hope you're hungry for little chips of brick. So, another fun fact is apparently on the longest day of the year, the public near Pyramid Lake will all gather together, or they're invited to gather. I don't know if this is like a real annual thing or I'm not sure how often it really happens, but the public is known to gather around Stone Mother in the Pyramid Lake area to pray for healing, which is really sweet. So,
Oh,
so there's an anthropology paper called Questions of Sovereignty, Pyramid Lake and the Northern Paiute Struggle for Water and Rights. And so here's a quote from some of the Paiute Tribe council members as of 2010. The water is our life, our being, our being was created by the Stone Mother. It has always been our main goal to take care of the water creatures. The lake is everything. The lake provides a spiritual foundation for our people, and every aspect of the lake is tied into our lives, faith, and identity. So the water is super important.
beautiful.
Yeah. And it's the Pyramid Lake is still known to have like crystal clear water and really amazing fishing, but because it's still a reservation, you need a permit to even visit. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's one of the reasons why it's probably so well preserved because you can't just waltz on over
Well,
and
that's yeah, probably for the best.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so the lake is also full of some lore slash mystery slash oohs and ahs. Mainly, uh, Pyramid Lake is said to have been the home of, or still the home of, a mermaid.
Oh,
Ooh,
ah.
Um, oh, by the way, follow us on Cameo, everyone. I just got a notification that someone asked for a cameo. So,
Oh, nice. I didn't.
you know what's, never mind.
Okay.
I was just gonna get on a rant, and I'm just like trying to like try to look professional here. LOL.
Oh, you were doing a great job.
But no. So anyway, if you would like a personal shout out from us, you can book us on Cameo. Shameless plug. Um, so yeah, so many of the legends have something to do with either a mermaid or a mermaid-like creature. So, uh, apparently, the native legend to this is that the mermaid was this gorgeous, you know, mermaid ladyfish, and she married a member of one of the locals in the Paiute tribe. They were madly in love, but the tribe disapproved of them being together and banished the mermaid to keep her away from one of their own and her husband.
Oh, okay.
So she was super bitter, obviously, and she
Aw.
vowed revenge on any member of the Paiute tribe who ever comes near Pyramid Lake.
A vengeful ladyfish sounds terrifying.
Hell hath no fury like a woman fish unscorned. I say it. I've said
Did
it
you just
before.
say uncorn?
A ladyfish scorned. Oh shit. Look,
That's
you know
okay.
what? I
I'm
had the
sure an
confidence.
uncorned ladyfish is also extremely dangerous.
I had the bravado, and that's what matters. So,
It does. I mean, I felt it in my soul.
I mean,
I did.
so leave me alone. Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
will do.
so apparently, yeah. So a vengeful mermaid who is not a fan of the Paiute tribe is
Right.
what I'm taking away from that. She's still said to wander the shores, which makes me wonder how she's wandering without legs. But maybe she's just kind
No,
of swimming in
that's
the low tide,
very scary.
kind of rolling around.
Oh
Um,
god.
she is apparently always waiting for someone of the Paiute tribe to appear and do some sort of bad luck on them, I suppose. Or um, so apparently the Paiutes who live near the area, though, or at least in today's world, have a different version, or at least according to the Paiute Tribe Museum, and they also have a visitor center. Um, they say the story is different, where this literally starts on the California coast. And while on a family vacation, a Paiute man met and fell in love with a mermaid like creature from Cali. Oh my God.
OMG, those Cali girls will get you every time.
She was like, OMG, are you a Paiute? I love you. So,
We're unforgettable. Daisy Dukes bikini. Yeah, it just
I know
works.
it. Like that song was actually written about a mermaid, so
That's right. That's what Snoop said
that's I I said
to
it here
me.
first. Oh, said it to you first. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, so a Paiute man fell in love with a mermaid like creature, so I'm not sure how mermaid she was. Maybe she was just like one of those girls who loves mermaid stuff a little too
Oh,
much.
the sushi where she laid on the thing and they put
Uh-huh.
sushi on her tummy.
She's decorates her whole home with like seashells.
Mhm.
Um
That's probably what it is.
maybe.
Most
So
likely.
he proposed to her and brought her to Pyramid Lake to meet his tribe, but they told him to bring her back to the sea. Yikes!
Oh, ouch.
What what a
That's
what a
harsh.
mean thing to say. And so apparently she cursed them. And soon after this happened, two Paiute women were washing their clothes in the river. Um, one of them had a baby with them, and she kept so she kept the baby kind of perched under a tree while they were washing their clothes in the river just to keep an eye on the baby.
Mhm.
um Apparently at one point when they weren't looking, this snake thing came out of the river.
Uh-oh.
um this is where I get confused because I thought we were talking about a mermaid, but now it's turned into a snake.
Okay, well, mermaid-like.
Mermaid, like, yeah, scales.
It's a snake. It's actually a large he fell in love with a large snake. Let's all just say it.
Well, if she was cursing them, maybe she like had it like she like was personality wise a snake. You know, how, like they tweet out
Sure,
like the
yes.
snake emoji when like
Snake in the grass.
can't
Yep.
be trusted. Uh-huh.
Snake in the lake.
Snake in the lake. That's what I always say. And
Mhm.
also maybe part demon.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So I don't know how we're gonna frame that into the theory we just came up with, but
Yikes. So we've all got goals for 2021, whether that's school, career, exercise, etc. But have you thought about your hair goals? Because I certainly have.
I have, and it's because I use Function of Beauty. Function of Beauty is the world leader in customizable beauty, offering precise formulations for your hair specific needs. And this is how you get started. First of all, you take a quiz. So, Christine, listen up. Um, and I will say it's a very fun quiz. You also, at the most fun is that at the end you get to customize things. So,
Oh,
at that
Best.
point. You get to pick your own color, your own smell, and also you get to pick what your needs for your hair are. So I have really dry hair, and I wanted, to see if there could be some sort of correction to that. And I have like a bottle with my name on it, and it's
Oh, it's
meant
so
for
cool.
my hair needs, and it smells like what I want and looks like what I want. It's very, very cool.
Oh, the fragrances are amazing. They're also vegan, cruelty-free. They never use sulfates or parabens. You can also go completely silicone-free, so it's good for the planet, good for animals, and good for your hair. I personally have very oily hair, so I got my own special little bottle with my name on it, and it helps combat oily hair, and I don't have to wash it every day, which is a game changer.
When I say it's customizable, there are 54 trillion possible formulations. So like it is specifically customized for you.
Never buy off the shelf just to be disappointed ever again. Go to functionofbeauty.com/drink to take your quiz and save 20% on your first order. That applies to their full range of customized hair, skin, and beauty products.
Go to functionofbeauty.com/drink to let them know you heard about it from our show and get 20% off your order. Functionofbeauty.com/drink.
So, Em and I both, I think, have trouble sleeping in general. That's one of the fun facts we share about each other and learned in grad school.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
swear to God, my life has changed since I got a Helix mattress to the point that this is a fun fact. I got my mom and stepdad one for Christmas, and they text me like every night to be like, "I'm falling asleep so quickly," and then mom texts me every morning to tell me how well she slept on her mattress. I feel like the best daughter ever because I think this is the best gift I've ever gotten them.
Well, I'm the worst partner ever because Allison's been gone for 6 weeks, and the most fun about that is that I've had a Helix mattress to
Yeah.
myself. So, like, I've had a blast. Helix Sleep, by the way, also has a quiz, which we love a good quiz. That
Uh-huh.
takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preference to the perfect mattress for you. So, why would you buy a mattress made for someone else when you can just literally customize your own sleeping pattern for yourself or your own mattress for yourself?
It's so fun. I did it for myself and Blaze, and then I did it for my mom and stepdad, like a big weirdo, to make sure I bought them the right mattress. So I got the Dusk mattress, and I sleep on so it depends on where you sleep. If you sleep on your back, your side, your stomach, and honestly, the type of mattress that they select for you during the quiz is so spot on. Like I honestly haven't felt better sleeping. My back doesn't hurt, which is new. It's a new fun fact about me.
Great. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/drink.
That's helixsleep.com/drink for up to $200 off and 2 free pillows.
So, okay, just to recap because it's a lot. So, this specific story goes that a guy brought the mermaid to his tribe. They said, bring her back to sea, and she cursed them. And soon after this, 2 women who were washing clothes in the river, one with a baby under the tree, there was a snake that came out of the water when they weren't looking, who ate the baby.
Oh my god.
Then we think it's like magical or demonic in some way because the snake then turned into a baby.
Oh, what?
So it like took its place, like
Yeah, it took
shapeshifted,
its form.
made it look like it was their
Maybe
baby.
the mermaid ate a snake, became a snake, then ate the baby,
Oh
then became a baby.
my god, did you just solve history? Okay.
I mean, I maybe that's just the story and we just didn't get it, but
I mean, that makes more sense than anything that was going on in my head, which was just a tumbleweed. Um, so the snake forms into the baby. So the women don't know that anything ever happened to the baby.
yeah.
After they've washed their clothes, the woman that was the baby's mother decides, oh, my baby needs to be breastfed.
Mhm.
So she puts this snake demon baby
Uh-oh.
up to her naked chest, and it bites down with a real vengeance.
Oh no, oh no.
And now we have a true crime on our hands. So,
Oh no.
um, basically, it's so bad that they now run from the river to the tribe. Imagine having a baby and
Ah!
a baby snake hybrid biting down on you there so
Your nips.
intensely that you also run
Oh
to
god.
the public and everyone sees this thing
Oh
dangling
god.
off of you.
Ah.
And so all the tribe members are desperate to release the baby's grip off of her, but they can't do it.
Oh
So they
god.
call for a medicine man who apparently made a deal with the snake. The medicine man was like, aha, that looks like a demon to
I
me.
got it.
And told the snake, if the woman can be fine, you let go of the woman and she's restored back to health, then you can be free to live in the lake and we won't bother you.
Okay.
So the first story is kind of like there's a mermaid that is in the water. The second story I told is that a something serpent mermaidy like is in the water,
Was
but both
banished to the water.
banished or agreed with, made a deal with the devil. Um, but in both versions, it's something mermaid like, and it's a dark presence or provides a
Right.
curse to the lake. So that's one creature that they think is in the lake. Another creature that's in the lake, they are called water babies.
Uh-oh.
Have you heard of these?
It sounds really familiar, yes.
You might. There's a reason you might think it sounds familiar.
Okay.
Sorry to everyone that's not watching YouTube and getting context, but in those weird pauses, I'm trying to drink some water.
I mean, we can just edit those pauses out
Oh,
too,
that's
so
true.
no stress.
You mean no one wants to hear?
Not really. I mean, I do, but
Oh, good. Well, you get it in real life. So water babies. Apparently, these are humanoid creatures with webbed hands, so they move
yes.
through the water, which also sounds kind of mermaid-like. So I'm not sure if water babies and mermaids are separate in terms of creatures in the lake, or if they're seen as two different creatures that live amongst each other. Um,
Right.
but it's a humanoid water creature. Um, they are said to be vengeful, and they're said to be responsible for all negative events. So, like equipment malfunctions or boating
Mm.
accidents or disappearances. So it might actually probably it sounds similar to the mermaid thing. So this might
Mhm.
just be another theory of what the creature is. Some say that the water babies target fishermen and drown them, which is terrible. There was a YouTube video about water babies, and one of the commenters said, "Water babies just want to hug you around the neck, tight under the water."
Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I was like, "Aha, you're spot on." So some also say that if you hear or see a water baby, you'll just have bad luck. And others say that they are known to steal children,
Oh,
or
good.
I mean, they really run the gamut. Either it's bad luck or like horrible crimes against your children.
Yeah.
So that's why apparently one of the legends is a lot of people will say they hear a crying baby near the lake and you try to go save it, but they're luring you into the water to drown you.
Oh, no.
So the water babies apparently take three different forms. There's the younglings, the braves, and the elders. So it just kind of sounds like they're aging over time. But
Right.
the younglings apparently are known as chubby, not really pretty, but they have an irresistible charm. And I was like, okay, you don't have to really call me out.
Me.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Evan
Yeah.
Christine.
And apparently as they get older, they become prettier. So like the baby, they're like, it literally said, not as pretty as the elders.
Oh, okay, rude.
The Braves are androgynous teenagers. I was like, okay,
Okay.
sounds like everyone else these days.
Yeah.
Uh, they like lightweight clothes that are easy to slip off so they can get into the water faster. Checks out.
Yeah.
And they are amongst all three of the types of water babies. They are the most good. They are the
Oh,
most likely to punish people for doing something wrong. They'll play harmless pranks. There's one story that people went out and like had uh, traps for foxes and stuff. And when they woke up the next morning, all the boxes were stacked. Like it was just like little things like that. And I'm sure that maybe in some way that was punishing wrongdoing because you were catching animals or something. I'm not really sure, but they do little pranks and they're least likely to harm you. And then there's the elders that are also androgynous and drift in and out of consciousness for most of their time. They're more concerned with the spirit world than the physical world.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
if you see a water baby, that's what each of them are about. I guess each of them will also drown you. I'm
Uh-oh.
not totally sure like which one is the one that's gonna hurt you. I would imagine the younglings since they're the ones that look the most like babies.
Right.
But maybe they just become less. They have less murder, homicidal tendencies
Oh,
as they
that's
age.
nice.
So, fun fact: water babies aren't just in Pyramid Lake, but apparently they're also in a random area of Idaho, in a thing called Massacre Rocks,
Oh, dear.
which like it sounds like a terrible band.
It does.
But it's so these rocks are called Massacre Rocks
Oh dear.
in Idaho, and it's also said to be haunted by water babies, actually. So in the two places where they're best known, they are said to haunt those areas. Um, this area, just to give some information real quick, when the natives lived there, there was severe famine, and the villagers decided they didn't have enough food anymore to feed new mouths. And I'm
Uh-oh.
trying to fill in why it's called Massacre Rocks.
Yeah.
So as new babies were being born, because they already decided there wasn't enough food left to feed these mouths, if women were having babies, they were forced to go drown them
Oh God.
so that they wouldn't end up dying anyway from starvation. It was seen as like the
That's
swifter death.
horrible. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Bad.
apparently, there it's also haunted because fishermen will hear babies crying at night and they'll go out to save them. And it's one of the reasons that lore has stayed consistent is because allegedly every spring there's at least one fisherman who drowns, and the lore kind of continues through that. I mean, it could just be
Yeah.
that it's likely someone's going to drown if enough people are out in the water every spring, but it gets perpetuated that way.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so anyway, why you might think that Water Babies sounds similar or familiar to you is because it was actually a kids movie in 1978. So it was an older
What?
it was an older movie for us, but it was from the UK, and then it came to the US a year later. But it was one of those really cool, back when they just discovered like how to do live action and put cartoons in the live action. So it looked like a
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit situation. It
Yeah.
was one of those movies. Um, Here's the synopsis. This is from Wikipedia. You can just go find this, but I just wanted to read the storyline of Water Babies to you. When a 12-year-old chimney sweep
Sounds about right. They
named
were they were little because they had to climb through the chimney. They had to be children usually because they had to get in the chimney. Sorry, fun fact.
that is a fun fact. Also, child labor laws, but okay.
Well, yeah.
So when a 12-year-old chimney sweep named Tom is wrongfully blamed for being a thief, he makes a run for it with his dog Toby, and they end up jumping into a river. I think what this synopsis isn't saying in between sentences is that they might have almost drowned.
Uh-oh.
They encounter anthropomorphic underwater creatures, and before he can return to the surface and clear his name, Tom must rescue his friends, the water babies, from the enslavement of sharks. Yikes.
Oh my god, what? I like how you're like, "That's how Christine knows these things." Like, what on God's
There was
green earth?
I saw a picture of the actual movie and it looked real fucking creepy, and I was like, this looks like something Bernie the bear, by the way, would just like play on loop in your house.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, he did try to find the most traumatic films and just play them over and over.
eat
I'm
these
looking it up,
dried
Water Babies.
blueberries and watch a movie about the enslavement of these little water babies from sharks.
Okay, this is terrible. I'm looking at it now and I'm actually frightened.
Does it not
No,
look
I
like something
definitely
Renata and Bernie would give you to watch?
it sounds like something all my German relatives probably watched in dubbed in German,
It
which makes it even scarier.
looks like a cautionary tale about maybe drowning or child labor laws or sharks, but
Climate thieving from chimneys. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options here.
so
Oh god.
that movie was actually based on a book from the 1860s.
Oh,
So Charles Kingsley wrote the book The Water Babies, a fairy tale for a land baby, which I think is hysterical.
that's cute.
And the book was originally actually like a satire, like I think it was like a weekly article or something. It was like meant for a magazine, and they would write in these little passages about the water babies, and then eventually it became its own book, and that book is what inspired the movie.
Okay.
So, but the whole point of it ever even being created in the 1860s, or why they were writing this satire for this as an entry for this magazine, the water babies were originally a way for the author Charles Kingsley to support Darwin during the time that The Origin of
Oh,
Species came out.
interesting. Okay.
But I'm not going to get into it. But let's just say it is outdated. It,
Oh, is it?
some it's from the 1860s. Several groups of people might feel insulted by the things that
Oh,
book had to say.
okay. Great.
Um, but anyway, so the actual book itself is about Tom, a young chimney sweep who falls into a
Oh,
river and is turned into a water baby and is given a bunch of different like moral life lessons. And then when he passes the test, he becomes a human again. Um,
okay.
what I thought was funny about this, because I was reading the synopsis, I just pulled all this about the book from Wikipedia. You can go find this if you'd like. But you know how in all of these like fairy tale stories, there's like a wizard or like a wise sage that's supposed to
Uh-huh.
your guide.
Oh
So
God, what was it?
they were three fairies, and the fairies' names were Mrs. Do as you would be done by,
Oh my God, stop it.
Mrs. Be done by as you did,
Shut up.
and Mother Carrie.
Poor Mother Carrie.
They were like, okay, we have enough golden rules in there. You just show up. Um,
Oh, poor thing.
so anyway, another couple little like fun quips I liked from the book is that apparently after he becomes human again, there's another main character in the book named Ellie, and it said that they never get married because in fairy tales the trope of like the prince and the princess get married. Uh, they in the book it says uh, that Tom and Ellie never got married because, quote, in fairy tales, no one beneath a prince or princess ever marries. And I was like, that's a weird jab at fairy tales, but also funny. Um,
Yeah, okay, I guess.
and so I thought that was at least an interesting way to end it versus like they lived happily ever after.
It is.
Instead of happily ever after, Tom became a great man of science. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
and since then, it has been adapted into multiple musicals and radio series. So
Why are people obsessed with these water babies? They're freaking me out.
what a concept. So anyway,
What a
real
concept.
quick before I end, I'll say so Pyramid Lake was fed by the Truckee River. This is just like another weird little theory, and people are like, "What? I don't understand how this is possible."
Okay.
It's fed through by the Truckee River, which is basically outflow from Lake Tahoe. So
Oh, okay.
Lake Tahoe, Truckee River, and then it feeds into Pyramid Lake from the south. But it only comes in that way. But then Pyramid Lake doesn't have an outlet after that, so the water all becomes evaporation over time. So there's no water that would be passing through on the other end. But
Sure.
bodies that have disappeared at Pyramid Lake are being found in other bodies of water where water isn't flowing to have brought the body there.
What?
So they're like, if it's evaporating, there's no water to push it into these bodies of
Yeah.
water where we're finding the bodies later.
How's it happening?
So they're not totally sure. So like a couple, most of the bodies have resurfaced in Lake Tahoe, which was like over 60 miles away, and they're like, how
Whoa.
the fuck is this happening? The rumor is that there must be underground tunnels that we don't know of that are connecting the two bodies of water, but there's no real.
Ooh.
The one of the local rumors is that Jacques Cousteau himself explored this lake in the 70s, and whatever he saw down there, where we're assuming these tunnels are, he he was exploring them in like a little mini submarine in the 70s, and when he came back up, he was like really obviously shaken by whatever he saw,
Oh.
and they were like, what's going on? And he said, this world isn't ready for what's down there.
What? Okay. Now, but that is a fun way to kind of get some notoriety. You just go somewhere and turn around and go, "You're not ready."
I
And
hope
everyone's like, "What did she
I
see?"
hope Jacques Cousteau was just taking that submarine ride and was down there so fucking bored, and when he woke up, he was like,
Exactly.
"I'm gonna freak everyone out and just
Yes.
never say a goddamn word."
That's
Apparently,
just like the ultimate move. Yeah.
but just to like confirm that though, there are other divers in Pyramid Lake who have been said to have their diving gear ripped off unexplainably.
Oh, dear.
And they've apparently these divers also said, "You don't want to see what I saw down there."
Well, so okay, I love how everyone's like, "I saw it, but I'm not gonna tell you." It's like, "Wait, no, 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 that's not how it works."
The most equipped therapist on earth can't rattle me. I'm
Yeah.
never gonna tell. Um, so anyway, whatever's down there maybe is attributed to underground tunnels or how things are getting moved through the lake. Um, and there's the mermaids, there's the water babies, there's also last but not least their version. I feel like every fucking lake has one of these. A sister monster to Nessie, to Loch
Oh,
Ness.
yes.
And so this is the Tahoe Tessie.
Oh, I've heard of that.
So just to do a quick little feature on Tessie, Tessie dates back to the Paiutes, and
Oh,
apparently even the Paiutes said that Tessie was so, I don't know if they called them
probably
Tessie.
not.
Old Tess, you know her. Uh, they said that this creature was so highly regarded that speaking of them was unthinkable. Like, it was just something you didn't fucking do.
Oh, wow,
Which
okay.
I wonder if
Get
that
get Tessa's name out of your mouth.
I wonder if that is connected to, like, the serpent thing that is, like, bad luck.
Oh, true. True, 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 true.
So maybe they were like, "We just don't even wanna test it."
No.
Apparently, if you did talk about the creature, it could cause blindness or death.
Oh, well, I mean, that explains it.
I mean, yeah, that alone sounds like bad luck to me.
Yep.
Fun fact, Tessie is still spotted today, but, there was some sources that say that you can only see Tessie in June during even numbered years, which that
Okay.
seems interesting. Um,
Okay.
more believable in one way and a lot less believable in another way.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, it's unique.
Um, Also, the sightings are the people that still see them or report seeing something say that it's a snake-like being that surfaces and then disappears again into the water. So very Nessie tendencies. Um,
Yeah.
One of the local business owners actually saw Tessie in the mid '80s while doing a commercial shoot, which had to probably be very fun.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
People describe this thing as a large snake up to 20 feet, and some have reported that the monster makes wakes in the water the size of a boat. So
Wow.
boat-sized wakes next to boats is pretty terrifying. And the thing that's most interesting is a lot of people have reported that it has a surprisingly small head for how big its body is, and the head moves up and down, unlike a snake that would move from side to side. So
Yeah, true.
so that's why they think it's serpent-like, but they don't want to call it a 20-foot snake. Which either way is
Wow.
terrifying. I don't know which one I would prefer.
Yeah, same, same. Both bad.
There are so many reports of Tessie that Pyramid Lake ended up or Lake Tahoe in general ended up being the place that was decided on for the location of a global conference in 2004, where they did discuss things like Tessie in one of their lectures about unidentified swimming objects or USOs.
Oh, love that.
So apparently, all these creatures can be identified as USOs.
Love it.
Which I wish like 210 episodes ago I knew, because that would have helped me explain a lot of things. Um, so if the theory about underwater tunnels is true, this was something they talked about at this lecture. If the theory about underwater tunnels is true, then that could explain that, one, there might be more than one Tessie, and two, it could explain how we only see them sometimes because they might have another home and they just travel back and forth as they please.
Wow.
Um, Again, just like Nessie, a lot of people think that the most likely thing is that Tessie is either mud in the water or a freshwater eel or probably a large sturgeon,
It's
uh,
always a sturgeon.
which at this moment, I would also like to call out the person on Reddit who was very obviously trying to give me like a subtle, not so subtle wave, because I follow my Christian stories, obviously. So the Duggars there's a one called Duggar Snark on Reddit that I follow, where it's just a bunch of people like me who watch them out of horror. And so I told you last time we talked about sturgeons that
Yeah.
one of the Duggars had a baby and named him Spurgeon. And then we had a whole episode called The Sturgeon Named Spurgeon.
Right, right.
Someone in Duggar Snark within the last month posted about that Duggar's child and literally referred to him as the sturgeon named Spurgeon. And
Oh!
I was like, I see what you're up to. I am not going to call myself out, though, because I don't want people knowing what my username on Reddit is. But I do want you to know that I
It's
heard
water
you.
baby 444.
It's rice pudding 9, and I'm always crazy 444.
Shut up.
But but yeah. So I did see what you did there. I recognize you, and I hear you. But I am not going to out myself on Reddit. Thank you.
Amazing.
And that's the story of Pyramid Lake with a cameo from Tessie and the sturgeon named Spurgeon
And water babies. Yay!
and water babies.
I love that you mentioned Truckee River because as I was looking at the water babies picture, which looks like a creepy baby doll floating in the water, I was thinking about Truckee, who was my sister's doll when she was a baby. She named her doll Truckee, and she
Sweet.
would drag it
Why?
around by its feet and just like throw it and stuff. And so she would freak out anytime anybody like went near it or like took its seat or anything like that. And then she would like hurl it across the room, and my mom would go, Francisca, like treat her nicely. And she's like, she's just a doll, mom. But then, you know,
Girl.
if she wanted to keep her seat or whatever, she'd be like, you're hurting Trucky's feelings.
I love how she
Um,
would use it as, like, almost like a like, how little kids are just the devil, and, like,
yeah, yes.
it's like a little manipulation tool of, like,
Oh,
"This is just a
always.
doll until it's gonna help me out."
Until I need it to be a real person, yeah.
Right.
But Trucky is what she named her doll, and then she would get new dolls, and every single one was named Trucky, so now
Aw,
we call dolls Trucky. So when you said Trucky, I was, like, looking at the water babies and going, like, "This is too close to home."
that's so cute. I have, and I was gonna say we as a collective, I'm an only child, though, so just me,
I.
myself, and I, uh, in the house growing up when I was a little kid, me and my parents would call blankets "buja" because apparently before I would call blankets "buja" before I could say blanket. And they knew I was talking about blankets because anytime I would point at something and want it, or I would, be screaming for a blanket, the only thing that would stop me from crying is if they gave me a blanket after I was calling out for a buja.
Right.
And so, yeah, blankets are bujas. I have no idea how it's spelt. I like to think there's three Z's and a silent X. But you tell me.
Ah, I love it. Sounds like bougie. A little close.
I never even thought of that. Well, now
That's the first thing that came to my
hang
mind. I
on.
was like, you would."
Oh, I was thinking like zhuzh, like a zhuzha.
Yeah, bougie and zhuzh.
If we
Ugh,
could get me a buja next year that says bougie and I could have a bougie buja, I'm gonna
okay.
lose my
That.
fifth fucking mind.
And you have to zhuzh it up because it's the
We would
Fab Five are coming over.
bedazzle it, and we would
You
have it.
gotta zhuzh your bougie bouzha. Oh my god, this is giving me a
I
headache.
my s my you can just go, just do your thing. I
Okay.
am losing it. Holy crap.
Wow, what a shock.
I don't
Um,
know what happened there. My brain really just got really overwhelmed.
oh, that happens on this show. Okay. So, I have a story for you that I've wanted to cover for a long time,
Oh my
and
god.
it is an Ohio story. And it is the kidnapping of Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, I don't know. I was hoping it would be something I knew.
You might know it when we start talking about it
Okay.
timeline-wise because it was huge news a few years ago,
Oh, okay.
and, it was pretty dramatic when it happened, so, maybe you'll remember, but
Okay.
so,
Side note
whew,
real quick. I'm digging little baby Krampus in
I
your
know, look, I put him behind, put him on my Geo shrine here.
sweet.
I know, look at that. Oh, what a
So
good boy.
cute. That's a good boy.
So let's see. I'm going to start with Michelle Knight. So 21-year-old Michelle Knight was at a Family Dollar store in Cleveland, Ohio on August 23rd, 2002, asking for directions from the store clerk when a man offered to help her. She recognized the man as Ariel Castro, an elementary school bus driver and the father of one of her friends.
Okay.
He said to her, I know where it's at. I can take you straight to it. It'll only take me 5 minutes. So Michelle agrees.
Okay.
Little did she know that this would be pretty much the last time she saw the outside world for many, many years.
Oh, okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. I thought you were just gonna say, little did she know this was her. It was gonna not be a good day, and I was like, well, we
I
gathered
was
that,
gonna say that.
Christine.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I thought I'd be a little more dramatic,
It worked.
and
I'm
tell you.
intrigued. Definitely.
Okay, good. So, Michelle had a tough time growing up. She recalls growing up in Cleveland. I loved the area. It was really beautiful, but I hated my home life. So, she had a really hard childhood. She and her family lived in their car for a while. Um, when they did move into a house, it was big, but didn't really have anything in it. There wasn't a couch. They didn't have a stove to cook food on. They actually cooked their food on a space heater. And Michelle remembered that it took 4 hours to cook one hot dog for the family. So,
Jeez.
they didn't really have any comforts, could barely, sustain the family. So with the family situation, Michelle kind of became the maternal figure to her younger siblings. And Michelle at one point was interviewed in 2000. So before this story took place, back in 2000, she had been interviewed, and she told the story of helping deliver her brother when he was born.
Oh,
So she was like a grown up real fast.
yeah.
So she had experienced severe emotional and physical abuse. A male relative sexually abused her when she was about 12 years old. So at 14, she ran away, feeling safer on the streets than she did at home. She actually slept she slept under park benches for a while. Then she ended up sleeping inside a trash can. She was only 4'2" and was able to get a blanket in the trash can. And that's where she slept. And by the way, Cleveland is fucking cold. It's one of like the coldest towns because it's right on the lake. So it's a very cold ass place. So she slept in a trash can for a while. She also found solace in a Baptist church, which she was drawn to because of the music, and she went regularly. But unfortunately, at one point, one of the churchgoers recognized her and called her father.
Oh.
So Michelle's dad picked her up, and she was forced to return to high school, where she was like an outcast and she was bullied pretty drastically. She had kind of a terrible time, and so she connected with a guy, an older boy at school, and they began a sexual relationship, and that was kind of her like safe haven. But soon she discovered she was pregnant, and she said she wanted to be the best mom. She wanted to be a better mother than her mother was, and so eventually she gave birth to her son Joey.
Oh.
And it was, as you can probably imagine, really difficult. She had to go out and find jobs to be able to afford, taking care of Joey. She often had to leave her son with her mother and her mother's boyfriend because she had to work. But unfortunately, her mother's boyfriend was very abusive. And at one point, he was drunk and grabbed Joey by the leg and fractured his knee
Oh my
when
God.
he was a baby. So she had to take him to the hospital, meaning social services got involved and they took Joey and put him into foster care. So despite Michelle trying to be, the best mom, she just couldn't make ends meet because her own parents were abusive to their grandchild.
Every fucking time I think it's gonna get better,
Uh-huh.
you just say,
Why would you think that at this
I
point
don't
in
know.
our
And also,
podcast?
especially when the end of this story is she wouldn't be seeing the sun for
Yeah,
several years.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. Why did I
This
have
is
my
just
hopes up?
background. This isn't even like the story. This is just like her background, which is just
My
terrifying.
God, her actual life sounds like a whole crime
Yeah,
on
like
its own, like, just
exactly like its own fucking story.
ooh, okay.
So, on her way to a case management meeting, she stopped at at a local Family Dollar store because she was lost and thought she needed to ask for some directions. So, while she was asking for directions, a man named Ariel Castro, her friend's father, came up and said, "Hey, it'll take me 5 minutes to show
Got
you
it.
where you need to go." But instead of driving to the family court where she was due to see Joey, he took her to his home. And his explanation was that he had to pick up his daughter, her friend. And while he was at it, he wanted to show her some puppies.
Wow.
So classic. His textbook. His daughter, not surprisingly, did not live with him. And even more shockingly, there were no puppies. So once they were inside the house, he said to Michelle, "You're not going to leave for a long time."
Good night. Okay.
I know
Wow,
it's
he
it's
really just went from, "I'm keeping this low key" to welcome to hell. Like, there was
welcome to hell.
no
Yeah.
warm up. Wow.
Nope. Just straight there. Horrifying.
Wow.
So he said, "You're not going to leave for a long time." And then he started undressing himself. And as Michelle remembered, she dropped to the floor, begging him to let her go. She took out a photo of Joey and said, "I need to get my son. This can't happen. I need to get to my son." And he ripped the picture of Joey up in front of her and said, "You will never see him again." I mean, it's just like,
Whoa.
I'm like on page 1 of the story, and it's just like 0 to 100 already.
I mean, I don't know if it's the ADHD meds, but goose cam.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm not on ADHD meds, so
Okay, so
don't worry.
let's
It's
have
not
you
just
be
you.
like the
The
sample
control,
control.
control group.
Yeah.
I can't be a good control group because I'm also on Lexapro and Klonopin and propranolol. Don't worry, I have too many drugs in my system
It's
for that.
mental illness, isn't it?
That's the slogan of
Yep,
our podcast.
yep.
Yes. Yikes. Um, So he ripped up the photo of Joey, said, "You're never going to see him again." He then put her in a really gross, decrepit room of his house. He bound her with an extension cord wrapped around her legs, arms, and neck. shoved a sock in her mouth to muffle her scream, and basically left her there for several days. So this is where things get even darker and more triggering and traumatic. So just a heads up, he would rape her multiple times a day, and he would put on loud music so nobody could hear her screaming. She said later on, she said, it was difficult. I had to go blank. Anytime he was doing anything to me, I had to put myself in a different place.
Well, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
literally disassociate. Get yourself out of that fucking
Exactly.
situation. Oh my god.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
And another way that she distanced herself from him was that she refused to call him by name and instead referred to him as dude to like keep her distance from her abuser and
There's
kidnapper.
there's so few things you can do in that situation. Do whatever you have to.
I know, and I think that's really fascinating that even occurred to her. Like, I'm not even going to use his name to
Yeah.
like keep that distance, which is really
And I don't
fascinating.
wanna, like, dignify this.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So eventually, Michelle's family reported her missing following her sudden disappearance. But remember that she had run away as a teenager earlier. So they were like, oh, she's probably just running away. She was probably upset she lost custody of Joey.
Yep.
And so no one went looking for her. So she just was reported missing. And then that went out the window. And they just kind of assumed she had run away from her family, from her son, and from her life. So it just makes it extra sad when you read it about it and watch the stories because like nobody was looking for her, you know? It's just really fucking
I
sad.
mean, it's like what's the story? The girl who cried wolf or something, and by the end, like, she, like, genuinely needed help and people, like, weren't there, and, like, I mean, it's just so terrifying. Isn't that
I
the
mean,
story?
The Boy Who Cried Wolf, but yeah, I like that it's a girl better.
Oh, sorry.
It's the
I
modern
I
version.
don't understand this. Maybe I might be butchering that entirely. I haven't.
Well, it's just like an old, like yeah, it's like an old story, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, and he had a flock of sheep, and he would scream wolf, and people would come running, and there would be no wolf, and then one day there was a wolf, and he screamed wolf, and nobody came because he had
Oh, it's
cried as many times, and then
kinda
the wolf ate all the sheep.
kinda similar in terms of, like, she kept running away, and then now nobody was looking for her when she
Yeah.
did it. That's so sad. That's
It
so
is really sad. I mean, she did only run away once, but yeah,
oh, okay.
but still, it is no, but it's true. Like they just kind of were like, well, this is her track record, so
That's so
this must be what happened, and you just wonder how often that happens, which is just really sad. So fast forward a year. I know, I know, it's bad. That's gonna happen a few times, unfortunately.
Oh, me losing my fucking breath? Great. Okay.
Well, the fast forwarding and the you losing your mind, yeah, both side by side.
Just I mean, you haven't even gotten to the other 2 fucking people yet.
No, I haven't. I know. I'm on page 2. It's really bad.
Oh my god.
So, fast forward a year, on April 21st, 2003, a day before her 17th birthday, 16-year-old Amanda Berry got up and got ready for her job at a local Burger King in Cleveland.
Mhm.
She later on remembers, quote, I almost called off of work that day because the next day was my birthday. You know, what if? What if I would have called off that day? But instead, she went into work. And while walking home, a vehicle started to follow Amanda down the street, and the man inside asked her if she needed a ride home. And again, she recognized Ariel Castro as one of her friends and classmates' dad. So, like, you just think, oh, I know this guy. I've met him,
I mean, look, if my friend's dad
right?
was like, I mean, yeah, if they were like, "Oh, let's
If Bear showed up on the bridge on his e-bike and said, hop on.
that man will murder me." I am
To be fair, he can't really lure you in with candy because it's literally dried fruit and nobody wants
he'd
it.
be like, "Give
So,
me candy," and I'd be like, "Let me see the candy first." I'd be
yeah,
like,
show me.
"I know your fucking tricks. Don't even."
He's like, "It's a stale granola bar
But if
in
he
my
said,
car."
like, "I know the best steakhouse in the world," I would be in that car. Like, it's
Right,
not
exactly.
hard to lure me in.
No, and it's one of those things where you're like, "Oh, it's a safe." Like, your guard is down, of course.
Let's just say, like, a prime example is when we were in Portland. Do we remember the story of Portland?
Uh-oh, no?
Musk?
What did I do?
Do you remember Musk?
Musk.
I ended
Oh,
up
no.
meeting Musk. Nobody else here.
Musk.
I've never covered
No,
Musk
you
on
haven't.
Musk is a person, by the way,
I
everyone.
like how you say, "I haven't covered Musk," as if it were like a true crime story.
First of all, it was a true crime in terms of if lying is a crime, that was a real because the way that I met Musk is because someone at our live show, and you know who you are. I don't know who you are anymore, but I know you know
You know who you are, I don't, but you do.
because at the meet and greet, someone was like, Portland has the best steak. You got to go to this place. It's open until 2 a.m. It's got the best steak in the world. And I was like, okay, well, it's midnight and I am hungry and it's steak. Like, I'll go. And I went doo doo doo, and I went all the
Uh-oh.
way to the steakhouse at 2 a.m. And it ended up being literally like a sex house. Remember?
Yes, I remember.
And I stayed because I was not going to judge. I was like, we are sex positive here, and I just want my fucking steak. And I sat down, and let's just say I was surrounded by a lot of let's just say that apparently once midnight hits, then it becomes like after hour.
All bets are off. Yeah.
It's not just like a strip.
Like late night.
It's not just a strip club. Like once midnight hits, it becomes like an experimental sex house. And I saw a lot of things and a lot of people doing a lot of things to each other. And I sat there quietly waiting for my fucking steak. And this very naked woman kept, I mean, it's like, I know like part of their job is to like kind of like get all touchy feely on you, but I am so scared of that. And so like, I'm just so vanilla, and we kept trying to be like touchy feely and like, because I was like, I just want my steak.
Also, yeah, you always describe yourself as like the most vanilla person when it comes to that.
Truly, I was like, I would like,
This is not my comfort zone.
she did this thing. Okay, it was so, to a vanilla person, it was just like really shocking. And I like went back to the hotel that night and like knocked on your door and Eva's door at like 3 a.m. And I was like,
Yeah.
I've got to tell you what I just saw. And so one of them, I remember, this is when I felt the stupidest in my entire life, which I know you know the story because I couldn't shut up about it. One of the things that this touchy-feely waitress was doing, because like she's supposed to be like all like hot and get me bothered or something. As she was taking my order, she took her naked butt and like lifted her butt cheek and then like scooted up to the table and like let her hand go so her ass would like slam onto the table. And I said, you almost knocked over my Shirley Temple. And I was like, I just want my steak. And then this person made me wait around for the steak. And then I found out later, like the kitchen closed an hour early and I was never going to get my steak. And while I was sitting there waiting for this fucking steak that never came, Musk came onto the stage, and I'm not gonna, it's very too.
For our explicit podcast, it's too X-rated. Yeah.
Let's just say there were like remote control cars with dildos involved, and
oh my god, I forgot about the remote control cars.
She had weights inside her, and then she literally punched a man in the face. It was, and I was just like, God, this better be the best steak of my entire life. And I walked out having done nothing except lost money.
Yeah, and lost part of your vanilla innocence, I think, maybe.
Shirley Temple. Okay.
And your Shirley Temple. They probably were pissed. They were like, this dude's not even drinking. And like,
I was, how could I? I was in a state of shock.
I'm amazed that you survived that ordeal because you were very traumatized.
Speaking of traumatizing things, like this story, I'm so sorry for having interrupted it. I just
no, but
I just said like how I mentioned how easy it would be for someone to tell me anything, and literally one of our fans suggested this place, and I was like,
to be fair, like that was somebody we didn't know, and you still apparently don't know.
It was a complete stranger who, by the way, could have like told me to go to a random location and then waited for me to see if I'd appear, and then they could have killed me. Like it was
right.
I mean, Musk could have fucking punched me in the face that night.
Musk probably almost did punch you directly in the face.
Within punching range, but
oh my god, Musk. Oh boy. Well, so exactly. So if you trust somebody who you've never met to tell you where the best steak in town is and you should show up, then like you're going to trust your friend's dad who just wants to give you a ride and who you've met.
It was a life lesson that I had to go through so I could tell everyone listening to us, don't do it. Just don't trust anybody.
Especially you gotta like take a note from Bishu Cine and just fucking Yelp a place, please, next time, before you show up where a stranger tells you to go.
I certainly should have.
Do a quick Googs and check.
It really would have saved me a lot of therapy money.
Scroll through some of the photos on Yelp and see, what kind of remote control cars are up in anyone's business. And
they were okay.
Okay. We're gonna have to do an after hours special just on that. Maybe we'll do a Patreon bonus.
A Patreon bonus where I just talk about the darkest night of my life.
Oh, we
Anyway,
can Zoom my therapist and we can just get in a three-way call here.
BetterHelp.com. It's
Right,
some
exactly.
some poor therapist on BetterHelp knows all about Musk.
They're just like, "Oh, not again."
And this isn't to shame. We're usually very sex positive people. I'm not shaming anyone. You're into what you're into. I don't care. It's just
Em literally just wanted a steak and is not into the whole sex club thing.
I just I just it's not my thing, and I was stuck there because I decided I was too hungry to leave. So please go back to your true crime. I'm so sorry for monopolizing.
No, you're not. I think we all needed a little bit of a break there because
Ooh,
shit's getting heavy. And that's a perfect example. Don't listen to
sure
strangers. Don't
is.
listen to anyone. Don't listen to people, your friend's dad. Don't listen to Bear.
Amen.
And if your friend's dad says, "Hey, I'll drive you home from your shift at Burger King," be careful. And to like, this guy also was a school bus driver, by the way, and so people knew him. He was an elementary school bus driver. He was a figure that people recognized. His daughter had a lot of friends who knew him. So this wasn't like, oh, some stranger danger situation.
Right.
She knew him. So he was like, "Okay, I'll drive you home." And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So he said his daughter, her friend, was at his house and would Amanda like to go see her? So she's like, "Sure, yeah, I'll go see her." So Castro drove her home to his white two-story house on Seymour Avenue. And in the car, he was apparently talkative. He was talking about his kids and how one of his kids apparently worked at the Burger King Amanda worked at. And so they were just chatting away. Nothing seemed off. They were about to go see her friend. And when they arrived, Castro said his daughter might be taking a bath, so we'll just wait. And he said, "Hey, let me show you a tour, give you a tour of the house." So Castro took Amanda upstairs and showed her something, which at the time she kind of dismissed as like, okay, I guess I'm just going to dismiss this. There was a hole in the door where a doorknob used to be, and he had her look through the hole, and she saw a woman sleeping in a bedroom in front of a television set. And we later learned, and Amanda later learns, that that was Michelle, who had been there for a whole year and
Oh my
was
God.
sleeping in the bedroom on a mattress. So Amanda remembers, quote, "He took me to the next bedroom and it was just really dark in there and he didn't turn on the lights. And there was a little room off the bigger bedroom, kind of a big closet. He then took me to the basement and he taped my wrists and he taped my ankles and he put a belt around my ankles over the tape. He put a helmet over my head and he said, 'Just be quiet and don't make any noise and I'll take you home.'" So he chained her to a pole with all of those things wrapped around her. He chained her to a pole, shut off the lights, and left her in the dark with the TV on. She started screaming and crying. She said, "Nobody came. I was so scared I was going to die. I didn't think I would ever make it home." And I watched a 2020 special on this, and she described how the helmet kept fogging up because she was crying, and it was like a
Right.
motorcycle helmet. And she was like, "I was just like sobbing and I couldn't see." And it was, I mean, it's just really traumatic.
Oh my God.
So at this point, her family realizes she's missing. There's no reason for her to be gone. So her abduction makes headlines, and Amanda's watching her mother and sister on the TV in the basement. So the TV's on. She can literally see her mother and sister talking about her on the news. And she said, "That kept me going. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make it home to you. As long as you fight, I'm going to fight."
Oh, that's
The
so
whole story
heartbreaking.
is just, yeah.
Also, it's like it's so this is like not to like be a slight at all to like bus drivers, but like it's such a random person who would be involved in your life that like no one would
Yeah.
be looking at that person. It's not
Like a
like
tangential connection that you wouldn't
yeah,
exactly.
it's not like oh the best friend or the roommate or
Yeah.
someone
Or
who
like
like
the boyfriend or somebody like really intimate.
someone with a real history with you. It's just like literally the random guy in town people happen to know that why would you pick that person out of a lineup?
Exactly. And it's so weird because it's such a brief connection. You wouldn't y yeah, you'd never connect those 2 people. It's like,
Like
"Oh, he looked familiar, but I don't know him very well,"
no
or
one like, I don't have a relationship with any of my neighbors, like, no one would think it'd be my random fucking neighbor, but that person knows where I live, like, I mean,
yeah,
it would
true.
make sense if they wanted to hurt me, like, they could hide me pretty fucking easily, no one would ever look at them, like,
Oh
it's
god, don't get any ideas, people, please.
sorry,
And
please
he's talking about ways that they're gonna get abducted and
I'm just
killed.
it's just with our show, I feel like every time I hear a story of yours, I just realize how easy it could be to
It's a dangerous fucking
just
place,
fucking
man.
find somebody.
Yeah, the world is terrifying. Um, so on the fourth day of her abduction, which was April 24th, 2003, Amanda said Castro moved her to an upstairs bedroom and chained her to a radiator. She was missing for a week when her family received a call from her cell phone. So
Oh,
of course they're excited and they answer the phone and it's Ariel Castro. And he doesn't say who he is, but he calls on her cell phone and he says, "I have Mandy." And according to Amanda's sister, nobody called her Mandy except people who knew her. So he knew her well enough to know like his daughter called her Mandy because they were friends. So
got
he
it.
knew her nickname, but still there was no connection because he was such a removed person out
Yeah.
of her life. Yeah. And he said, "She wants to be with me." And that was all he said. So it was 2003, and the FBI had just started developing technology to track cell phones. And so they were able to narrow down that her phone had been used in like a certain block radius, like a 30 block radius.
Yeah.
And it's so upsetting because they got so close, like they were in that area. An FBI agent named Tim Kalanick said, "We spent about a week around the clock in that area hoping the phone would be used again, but he never used her phone again." So if he had used the phone again, they probably would have been able to pinpoint where she was being held. But it was like so close yet so far, and they were driving around the house, and there was no way to know where she was, but she was in that radius, which is just so dark. Um, Meanwhile, Amanda was stuck in this like really filthy room in his house. It was about the size of a closet. She described the mattress was old and nasty. It was just disgusting. She was tied up by a 5-foot chain, and she said she had enough room to get up and use the bathroom, but she had to use a garbage can to like go to the bathroom in
Jeez.
the room, which was obviously filthy. And it was really difficult to sleep because she had this 5-foot chain. So anytime she had to turn over, she would have to like lift the chain off of her to move.
Jeff. Yeah. So she was never having like I mean, why would you have a good night's sleep in that situation anyway? But like
Yeah,
it
but
was
it
a restless sleep.
yes, and it's just part of like the torture of this is like
Yeah.
she just can't even be comfortable in a room. Yeah. So other than that, he Castro gave her food. He gave her like a bag of chips or crackers or fast food every now and then. And the other kind of sick, twisted thing is that he never allowed Amanda and Michelle to contact each other, to talk, to like commiserate with each other. So there was
Did
not even
did Michelle know that Amanda was
yeah,
there? Okay.
yeah. So they knew of each other's presence, but they weren't allowed to speak or
Wow.
connect in any way, which made it even worse, obviously. So a year later, again, a whole nother year later, on April 2nd, 2004, Castro decided he wanted a third prisoner for his house. So he found Georgina DeJesus, who is 14 years old, so the youngest so far,
Oh my god.
about 5 blocks away from the street where he kidnapped Amanda. And Gina was friends with Castro's daughter, Arlene. So again, another
I was gonna well,
daughter's friend.
I have a question. So the all three of them, if they were all friends with his daughter, in theory, all three of them knew each other, right?
Uh, I'm not sure if they knew each other beforehand. Maybe they knew of each other. Um, yeah, I'm not sure because at this point too, Michelle wasn't listed as missing because people just assumed she ran away. So they definitely weren't going to connect those two.
Right.
But yeah, yeah. So they
But like,
presumably were 1 degree separated.
yeah, I'm trying to think of like in terms of like, oh, if his daughter had a birthday party, he would invite all three of them, and they might have passed each other
Yeah,
or something.
that's a good point.
It literally doesn't matter. I was
Yeah.
just trying to think if they knew each other.
Well, interestingly, they're also a couple years apart. So I wonder too, like they didn't specify if maybe he had multiple daughters. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because they were like 3 years apart in age. So they
Right.
didn't even, they weren't even in the same class or anything.
Right.
So a little bit odd. I don't know if it was the same daughter, maybe it was different daughters. But yeah, they presumably had crossed paths at some point, which is also disturbing.
Imagine being that fucking daughter.
Oh
Like,
god, I know, I thought about that too, like, your dad's using you as the reason to, like, kidnap your friend. I mean, it's horrific.
God.
It's, like, unthinkable. So, on the day she was kidnapped, Gina and Arlene the friend, the daughter, were actually heading home from school, and then they went their separate ways. And only moments later, a maroon vehicle pulled up on the curb, and she recognized Arlene's father at the wheel. And he said, "Hey, have you seen Arlene? I'm looking for her." And she was like, "Oh, yeah, I just saw her." And he's like, "Oh, can you show me where she went? Like, hop in and show me where she went, and I'll drive you home." So she's like, "Sure, yeah." So she gets in the car, and she said, "I was kind of freaking out a little bit when he didn't turn around. But then when he started talking to me about his daughter and how he was going to take his daughter to the mall and stuff, I kind of relaxed." So, unfortunately, instead of going to find his daughter, Castro drove Gina to his house where he asked her to help him move a stereo. And once inside, Gina was like, things are off. He's being really weird and his behavior is bizarre. She said, quote, "He was like fixing his eyebrows and trimming his mustache and cutting his nose hairs." And then she said, "He starts to like touch me and stuff. And then I'm like, 'What are you doing? You could go to jail.' And then he switches up saying, 'Well, okay, you're going to go home now, but you can't go through the same door you came in.'" So that's like her summation of it. But basically, he's like starting to get feely with her, and she's like, "Don't do that." And he's like, "Okay, you're right. I'm going to send you home, but you have to go through a different door."
And it happens, I'm guarantee, a door into a locked fucking room or something.
It's in the basement.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So he led Gina to the basement where she said he grabbed her and chained her up. She said, "He didn't make it tight enough, so I threw it over and tried to run, but he sat on my back," and pinned her there. So her family filed a missing persons report, and like they're similar in age, but again, she's 14, so she's even younger than these other two, and
Yeah,
14 is really little. I mean, so is 16, obviously, but 14 is even younger. So her family reports her missing almost immediately. But similar to the last two kidnappings, they just couldn't figure out who would have done this and why. And it's just such a perfect crime of like, I'm safe enough for you to get in the car with, but like you said, not like an uncle or a cousin or someone you
yeah,
would know well enough to be to be suspicious of.
right.
So while all three of them are now like captive in his house, and initially he worked really hard to keep them separated, and he didn't permit them to talk to each other, which kind of kept, uh, which is another control method, I guess, to keep them
Yeah.
under control.
Or so they can't
They
conspire to get out or something.
Yes, exactly. So they were like still going, so yeah, exactly. They couldn't commiserate, they couldn't learn anything from each other. So Gina said he was always there watching every move. It was like he knew everything, every move that we did. And they were occasionally allowed out of their rooms to do chores around the house, like they were expected to clean the house every now and then. But they had to obey stringent rules, and he was watching them the whole time. They weren't allowed to speak, that sort of thing. He also like did an even next level fucked up thing, which is that he started to like sow distrust in them of each other. So like he played them off of each other.
Got it.
And the way he would do that is he would treat them differently. So, for example, it seemed like Gina was his favorite for a while. I mean, she was like, quote, the newest member of the house and also the youngest. And so he would, for example, get her food from really nice restaurants, and then he would only give the other two like crackers, and he made sure they knew this. And she would get, and Amanda described it later as like it's simple things like clothes or food, but at that point you're so desperate and you're
If you're
thinking
all
like,
you have are your bare necessities,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And so if you're seeing like this other girl gets a new sweater, you're like, well, what the
Yeah,
fuck? I'm in this fucking chained up room. Why don't I get that? And so that created like distrust and jealousy and just made it even worse. Um, so Amanda, I mean, the way she filled time basically was by writing. So she asked for a journal, and he actually brought her a journal and a pen to like keep herself busy. So she wrote in notebooks, on napkins, in her diary, and even on fast food bags. So Robin from 2020, when she would like had her show how it worked, so she got a McDonald's bag, and she said you would tear the sides where the glue is and like spread it out, and became like this huge blank piece of paper. And she said that would last her about a week of writing. So
wow.
she used anything she could find as like a surface to write on. Um, and interestingly, she actually created like like a secret code
I was
to
gonna say,
so it's so fascinating. And like she reads some of these entries later on, which is like so wild. But she created like a secret code on every day she was raped. She would write like the number of times, and so she was keeping track because she said later if they found her body or if they found him, she would want them to like figure out that this is how many times he had, violated
Right.
her. So they basically she had a black and white TV, and that was all she had to kind of connect her to the outside. And this is also surreal because she was watching TV channels talking about her. So
Yeah.
it's so trippy. I mean, like next level creepy. So she would watch the Montel Williams show a lot. And the psychic he often had was Sylvia Brown.
Mhm.
And so she would watch this all the time, and she said she desperately hoped her mother would go on the program so that
Oh,
Sylvia Brown could tell her that she was all right and like give her some sort of comfort. And then one day, her mother in 2004 literally got on the show. And so Amanda's sitting there, and they're like, now we have the mother of missing 16-year-old or 17-year-old Amanda Berry. And
oh my
so,
god, Sylvia Brown must be so fucking nervous at this point of, like, I've got someone who can confirm or deny everything I'm about to predict.
well, so she literally said, I'm sorry she's not alive. And so I mean, there's a lot of issues with Sylvia Brown in general, but so she watched as Sylvia Brown told her mother that she had died, and she was like confident. And I watched the clip, and she's like, I hate to tell you this, but there's no other way to tell you. Like, she's dead, she's gone.
Also,
And
like, can you imagine watching your it's something that luckily none of us will ever have to experience, but I guess in this exact one case, there's always that chance
yeah,
of, like, watching someone see your reaction to finding out that you're dead.
that you're dead. I mean, really, you're right. It's like so surreal.
Especially your
And
mom,
so
I've like
my
the
mom,
like,
I know.
I can't imagine a more heartbreaking thing to watch, and also it
Yeah.
not being true and
And
seeing
you're
her.
out of control, like, you have no way of
Yeah.
being like, "No, it's me, like, I'm here. Like, keep your hope up." And so, yeah, Sylvia Brown basically said, like, "No, she's dead, sorry." And
Wow.
her mom, like, broke down. Like, I mean, her mom
Yeah.
had totally broke down, and it was, like, she said, the worst fucking thing to watch. So she said, "I just broke down crying because I couldn't believe Sylvia Brown said that, and then my mom broke down crying, so that hurt even worse." Then, even worse than that, 3 years into her disappearance, Amanda watched as her mother's death was announced on the news. So her mother would never get to
Find
know that she
out.
had been alive the whole time.
Oh my god, that's the most heart-wrenching part of, like, you
Yeah.
whoa, okay.
Yeah, she said that had almost completely broken her. Like, that
That
was
that would've I'd be destroyed.
yeah, and she said so her mother's name was Luana Miller, and she had died of heart failure. This was just, like, totally heartbreaking. Um, so Michelle, the first woman who's oh my god, I almost said adopted, Jesus Christ, abducted,
Oh my god.
very different, uh, also was kind of using as her family as, like, a motivation to keep going and survive. So Michelle remembers, "If it wasn't for my son Joey being out there and hoping to come back to him, I don't know what I would have done." So, now Amanda's mother has died, and so she has to just hope she can get out to see her sister.
Yeah.
And so in 2006, shortly after her mother died, Amanda suddenly had a new motivation to survive because on her 20th birthday, she realized she was pregnant. And she actually said, which gave me goose cam, she said in the 2020 special that she felt like her mother had died and had given her this baby because she knew, like, when her mother had died, she realized like she needed a reason to
Like a hope.
survive. So she
Yeah.
sent a baby to her, which was like the most, oh God, it made me cry.
Wow.
Um, so she suddenly realized she was pregnant. She said she was terrified. She said, "How? I mean, I barely eat and I'm chained to a wall and I have a bucket for a bathroom." So this must just be like terrifying, like a next level fear of like, now you have a baby to take care of.
Yeah.
Um, so all the women at this point had encountered pretty horrific sexual abuse from Castro. Michelle had become pregnant 5 times, but miscarried each time because she had been starved and beaten by Ariel Castro. So, I
Wow.
mean,
I mean, I'm
just
not shocked. I mean, with, like, the way that her body was being handled, like, I mean,
exactly. And he was
that's
clearly abusing the shit out of her.
fuck.
So on Christmas Day 2006, Amanda gave birth to her daughter, Jocelyn. Uh, Castro had brought home an inflatable kiddie pool for her to give birth in because he didn't want a mess on his hands. That's a quote from the show. Um,
Whoa.
and Michelle helped deliver the baby because remember, she had helped deliver her own brother years before when she was really young. So she delivered the baby, and apparently Ariel Castro sat in a chair and read a book about childbirth in the corner, trying to like
Catch up.
orchestrate it. Yeah, because he wasn't going to take her to a hospital, obviously.
It's a lot like,
Um,
do you ever see Room with Brie Larson? Miss
yeah,
Brie?
with Brie.
With Miss Brie. Wow.
That's what I was thinking of, like this whole time, this story. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, So Amanda like originally struggled with the concept of having a child with her like abusive captor.
Sure.
She said, quote, "This is his kid, how do I feel about that?" And she resembled him a lot, but then I would look at her and I just felt like she's mine, she's mine. So she was able to kind of separate, even though she did look a lot like her father. She was able to like separate it and say, like, no, this is my child and he's
Yeah.
not taking that away from me. So Gina said later that having little Jocelyn there was like a really nice distraction and like a welcome change of pace in the house. Some brightness, added some brightness to the house. Um, Gina said it was fun because I was able to get away from the situation. When I was playing with Jocelyn, Jocelyn made me forget everything. So Jocelyn was just this like little angel that appeared and like brightened everybody's
Yeah.
lives and brought a lot of happiness with her. But as she started to grow up, Amanda was like, "How do I explain all this to her?
Yeah.
Like, I'm raising this child in this room." And it was really sweet. She had set up like a little elementary school and they would play like imagination games where she would say, "Okay, I'm going to walk you to school now." And then she would say like, "Okay, bye. See you after school." And like put her, down at like a little chair and say like, "Now
So much
learn your
like Room.
alphabet." It is like room. Yeah, it is. And she would, and there were pictures of it, and she had like, handmade little like alphabet posters for the wall, and she was just like raising her in this tiny room, like room.
Like Room.
um, so she was like, "How do I describe being chained up? Like, what am I supposed to say to her?" And he told the girls that it's hard to say women or girls because one of them was a child, two
Right.
of them were at this point older. So
And we are
women,
not
girls.
saying females, by the way.
Right, right, right. Exactly. So he told the women to describe their chains as bracelets to try and normalize like why they were chained to a radiator. Um, when Jocelyn was about 2 or 3, uh, Jocelyn asked her dad, Castro, to please take the chains off of her mom. So he did because he sort of was like a softie around his little daughter.
Right.
And as Jocelyn grew older, he started allowing her more and more freedoms. So even though the women/girls were locked inside, every time Castro would leave the house, he would let Jocelyn play in the backyard. She would go to the park with him or to Sunday services with her dad. Um, so he was kind of
Wow.
like becoming a different person with her as far as like he was letting his guard down in a way. And he was softening to her, not to them, obviously, like they're still chained up to a radiator, but to the little girl, he's taking her out with him and stuff.
Imagine
uh,
being Jocelyn now and in therapy being like,
yes,
when I think of growing up, like, oh, I'd go to the
going to
park
church,
and then I
yeah.
would run on home to my mother, chained to the wall, and tell her about how much fun I had and I wish she could come with me. And
Ugh, it's really heartbreaking. Yeah, it is. And Amanda, too, at this point is nervous because she's like, oh, she loved him, her dad, and he loved her, but she's also nervous, like, is he like,
uh,
he has problems. Is he touching her? Is he doing anything? And
right.
she has no control over this.
It's also the
Um,
sickest part, like, at least, like, with, like, in Room, because that's the only other, like,
yeah,
comparison
it's
I can
really
give.
similar. Yeah.
Like, at least which, like, this isn't great, but, like, the guy that was holding Miss Brie in the room and, like, they had a son together, like, he was really fucking detached from that kid, and it's
Yeah.
almost better because, like, that kid had a better chance of, like,
Not
being
being
okay.
connected.
Yeah, not being connected in case they ever escaped, like, I mean, the worst some of the worst stories that I ever hear are when there's, like, cases of assault and that leads to someone being pregnant and then there's like custody battles. It's like get
Yeah,
the fuck out of here with that.
yeah.
So like that's just an extra level of mental torture of
I
like
know, but you
now I
wonder
have to
too
deal with this guy.
because is it better that she was able to, like, leave the house and, like, have somewhat of normal experiences rather than being
It's
chained
true.
up all the time?
It's
Or
true.
and he didn't abuse her as far as we know or as far as they've said, so, also, at least, like, he wasn't treating her the way he was treating the other 3. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like, all bad, as
And
we
there's
like to
no
say.
right answer. It's just
No, there's
all
not.
terrible. But yeah, it's something to think about and
It is,
Wanna
and
cry too.
yeah, and, I mean, spoiler alert, but this is kind of what helps save them in the end is that he kind of softens to the daughter and, like,
Okay,
kind of loosens his grip on, like, being controlling and,
okay.
having that kind of control over the other 3. So, at this point, it's like, how is nobody suspecting him if he's running around with suddenly a small child? Where's this child coming from?
Right.
Like, what's going on? And it's just the wildest thing because nobody fucking suspected it. And there is a book called Hope, a memoir of survival in Cleveland. And the author, Mary Jordan, describes it as Castro was very clever. You can't underestimate how smooth he was. If you walked down the street, you didn't see that he had put a door and nailed it to those windows and had quilts up because he had pulled the curtains. He always tidied up his front lawn. His house was a mess because he was a big hoarder, but he was very clever. He said hello to neighbors. He was sweet. He drove the school bus. He was good to his friends. He just had a double life. And when he walked inside his front door, he became a whole other violent person.
And what would happen in terms of Jocelyn going to school? Because like he there's no way he risked like the girl going to school and talking about her mom, right?
Yeah, no, so she just did the schooling like in the room with her mom. Like
Got
her
it.
mom did like that little school at home
Oh,
and
okay. I thought that was just like all pretend. Okay, got it.
I mean it was pretend. Like she was like, "Oh, now I'm going to drop you off at school," but it was like their bedroom.
No, I'm saying I thought the whole scenario was imaginary, not that education was taking place also.
Wait, what?
Like, did she go to school?
No.
Like, did she like have an education or be homeschooled?
No.
Okay, that got it, got it, got it.
Yeah, yeah. So, he, like, took her out every now and then to go to the park, but, like, rarely, and also, um, sometimes she was allowed to play outside, but that was it. So,
Got it,
inside, she was, quote, unquote, "learning" from her mom, who pretended to be the teacher. It was, like,
got
just
it.
kind of she
I
was
didn't know
trying to
I know she also got like an added perk as a mother of like, oh, and you can have some like school books so you can be the teacher too or something.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe he bought her, like, coloring supplies and stuff, but nothing, like, real education-wise, nothing, like, structured. So then we fast forward to May 6th, 2013, and now it has been 11 years that Michelle, the first abductee, has been in this fucking house. So
Well,
May 6th, 2013, there is an opportunity finally for the women to make their escape in an unexpected way, which is Jocelyn. So this is how Amanda tells the story. So Jocelyn goes downstairs and then she runs back up and she says, I don't find daddy. Daddy's nowhere around. She's like, Mom, daddy's car is gone. My heart immediately started pounding because I'm like, should I chance it? If I'm going to do it, I need to do it now. And this, shockingly, she tried her door of her bedroom and it was unlocked. And she said this was the first time in 10 years that Castro had left and she had tried the door and it wasn't locked. He always locked her door when he left the house, but he was kind of letting his guard down now because he has this little girl running around and he lets her like go in and out of the room. So he left the door unlocked.
right.
So she was shocked that her bedroom door was unlocked. And downstairs, the front door was open, but wired with an alarm. And beyond it, there was a storm door that he had padlocked shut. So she was able to squeeze out one arm of this out of the storm door, and she's waving her arm around and she's screaming, "Somebody, please help me! I'm Amanda Berry. Please help me!" And this is not the guy you want to be, anybody. So a neighbor saw her, but was too afraid to intervene and basically was like, I don't feel comfortable in this scenario and fucking kept walking,
Oh my
which is like,
god.
see something, say something, guys.
Oh my
That this
gosh.
is like the ultimate example of like, what an asshole do you feel like now that you almost let her go back to the
Yeah,
life she was leading?
truly.
So, she said, after I got to that locked door and the guy didn't help her and walked away, I was like, he's going to come home and this is going to be the end. But that is when another neighbor, Charles Ramsey, showed up. Amanda explained he kind of like started trying to pull on the door, but he couldn't get it open either. So he kind of like kicks it and he's like, there you go, finished kicking it and you can get out. So he was able to kick it from the outside. She was then able to kick it from the inside and the door opened and she was able to run out into the front yard of
Wow.
the house. So she had him call 911. She spoke to the operator. She was terrified because she was convinced that still he would come home and somehow get her back inside and
Yeah.
like kill her probably. She said, I don't know why he left that day with the door unlocked. I will never know. And she said, first, it was so unreal. So she called, you can hear the 911 call. She says, "This is Amanda Berry. I've been missing for 10 years. Please come help me." And it must be like, as the dispatch, she must be like,
Can you imagine?
"What?" Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So she said, when the cops got there, I told them there's two other girls in the house. So within minutes, police started flooding the street. They stormed the house where Gina and Michelle were hiding in their room. They didn't know what was going on. They just heard a lot of ruckus and thought like Castro was hurting Amanda. They just weren't sure what was going on. But as soon as they heard the word police, Michelle swung the door open, ran out, and like hung on to the officers and wouldn't let go.
Well, probably literally the first person she's seen in a decade.
Yeah, the first person and like somebody who is not going to hurt her.
Also,
Yeah,
imagine being a detective that was on the case like 10 years ago who was just patrolling and patrolling and patrolling, but
yeah,
not going into any of the houses, being like, "I looked at that house
yeah.
hundreds of
Because
times
when
and
that
I
cell
didn't."
phone pinged, like they were driving around that area for an entire solid week, 24/7. We're
That
driving around,
and 10 years later, like, you have no idea where that detective is. They might not even they might have a totally different job now, and they're just like, "That fucking house this entire
and it makes me
time."
wonder, like, what other fucking houses are you walking past and you have no clue what goes on beneath,
Oh, yeah.
under in the basement or behind closed doors.
Yeah.
It's just the worst. Um, so when Gina told police, "I'm Gina DeJesus," she said it was the first time she had heard her own name in 5 years. And Castro had made them all use different names. And I don't have the names that they used. I don't think they like to talk about that for obvious reasons.
Sure.
But he had given them like other names to use to like, and he called them his wives. Like he had a whole twisted idea of
Fuck outta here with that.
what they were to him. And actually, they had been boarded up in this house for so long that after 10 years they got out and the flashing lights of the police were so bright they could barely like keep their eyes open. That's how dark it was inside their captivity. So
Wow.
obviously next their families arrived. I mean, seeing those photos is just one of the most uh
Powerful.
yeah, powerful things. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like seeing Amanda's sister in the hospital with her, it's just crazy. So Gina's father, Felix, described it as a dream. He thanked the Lord for bringing his baby back. Amanda's sister, Beth, welcomed her with open arms, and her first thought was, "Oh my God, she's so skinny, but she's still beautiful." I mean, it's been like 10 years. The thought of that is just bonkers. She said she had the biggest smile. I could just feel her love. And as for Michelle, she was brought to the hospital. She had been, I think she was probably treated physically the worst out of all of them. She had been so severely beaten. She had lost her vision and she had nerve damage. And again, she had like miscarried 5 babies. Like
Right.
he was really, really horribly abusive to her. And her mother told the press that she hoped to reunite with her daughter and introduce Michelle to a younger sister that had been born during the time she was captive. But Michelle chose to not meet up with her family and kept her distance, which her story is just tinged with a lot of sadness because no one was looking for her, and then she got out and she
Oh, I
couldn't
don't
even
blame her at all,
I
yeah.
don't either. I don't either, and she couldn't even face her family. I mean, her mom's boyfriend is the reason that her son had gotten taken away in the first place, so
Yeah.
it's awful. So Castro, who was 53 at this point, was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years in prison on August 1st, 2013, after he pled guilty to 937 counts of kidnapping, rape, and aggravated murder. At his sentencing, Michelle stated, "I've got my life back. I spent 11 years in hell. Now your hell is just beginning." But unfortunately, he was found dead in his prison cell after dying by suicide on September 3rd, 2013. So he was there for like a couple weeks
That's
and he
such
took his
bullshit.
own life. And they were just like, it was horrible because they were like, we suffered for so long and he just fucking
For fucking heaven.
pieced out. Yeah.
It's
So,
almost it's crimes like that where you wish you could prolong life just so you could make them suffer longer, where it's
yeah,
like,
that's what Gino was saying.
I want
Yeah.
you to suffer 1,000 years."
I
Like,
want you to know what it was like or feel what it was like. Yeah, and Gino was saying the same thing of like I was hoping to watch him rot in prison for the rest of his life, and he just took
yeah.
took took the way out.
So,
So, and
again, they had no control.
again, yeah, again, they just couldn't even keep him. I mean, yeah, it's really fucked up. So in 2015, Gina and Amanda graduated from high school, which was obviously a big deal. Gina got to have her quinceanera, which she hadn't had. She disappeared when she was 14. Gina and Amanda together wrote a memoir called Hope, a memoir of survival in Cleveland, written alongside two Washington Post journalists. And that's kind of where they describe a lot of the details we've talked about, but obviously even more in the book if you want to read that. And Gina herself in 2018 founded the Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults to help families, deal with the media and figure out how to go to police and the best way to search for missing loved ones. And the foundation's headquarters is located on the same street as on Seymour Avenue, where she was held captive for 10
Wow.
years. So in 2018, the Daily Mail reported that Michelle's son, so Joey, the boy that she was going to see that one day, his new family had unfortunately made the decision to not share the identity of his birth mom with him. And so apparently Michelle said she understood the decision, and she has photographs of Joey that his adoptive parents send her. And she's just happy to see he's like growing up and having a happy life. And so as far as we know, she's now happily married to her husband, Miguel, and has changed her name to Lily Rose Lee. And she just hopes to one day be able to see her son down the line when, things, I don't know, change, or when he grows up, I guess.
Wow.
And so since her escape, Michelle has become an advocate for victims of sexual abuse. She released 2 memoirs, and she told NBC News that since escaping, she has found it hard using a lot of the things that we now take for granted. So, for example, cell phones or smartphones. She said, "Oh my God, cell phones were such a pain in the butt for me. It was just beepers and flip phones when I was kidnapped. And now she has to figure out how to use like TikTok and like
God,
Snapchat and stuff."
imagine. Wow.
No. And so Amanda still lives with her daughter, Jocelyn, who's now 14 years old. And according to a 2018 interview, she described Jocelyn as so kind-hearted. She loves animals. She's outgoing. She's a little sassy. I think she gets that from me. I'm just so proud of how much she's grown as a person. She's very caring, and a lot of kids her age are not like that. So that is the story of the Ariel Castro kidnapping house in Cleveland.
Holy
10
shit.
years. And they managed to get their way out, thank God.
Wow. That is heavy.
That's a heavy one, yeah. I mean, I'm so thankful they made it out, but, like, it's just goes to show you don't know what people are really like behind the scenes.
Whew. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised I didn't know about it. I should have.
Yeah.
It completely just passed me, I
I
suppose.
didn't know if you remembered, like, when they escaped, because I remember that being, like, a huge thing that they got out of the house. It was I don't know. Maybe it was just because I was
What year
in
was it?
Ohio. 2013.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that.
The sad thing is there's so many horrible stories like this that they kinda.
It's they shouldn't have to
It's
blend
another news
together.
story.
Yeah.
I know, it's horrible.
Wow.
Anyway.
What the shows that you watched, or what were the
Oh, so I
documentaries?
watched, a couple of things. So 2020, ABC News did all right, I wrote it down here. So ABC News did a special called Trapped. I watched a 2020 special. I'm obsessed with 2020, so I watch everything they do. Um, and then there are also those books, which I did not read all the books, but a lot of the information came from those books. So
Gotcha.
they're memoirs, which are also great.
Wow.
So
Holy
yeah,
crap.
that's that, my friends. Now time for some cookies with Bear.
Listen, you deserve it.
Cookies with Bernie sounds like a terrible German spinoff. A
Right.
cautionary tale indeed.
Look, cookies with Bernie or biscuits with Bernie or
Biscuits with Bernie! Oh my god. Horrible.
honey with the bear.
No, because he calls his girlfriend Honey all the time, and I'm like, "Ugh,
Does she
stop."
call him Honey Bear? That
That's
would be
probably where it came from, so
that'd be so sweet and precious.
yucko.
Okay. Well, I guess it's better than Stinky Witch, to be fair. Like
Nothing's better than Stinky Witch.
in terms of pet nicknames and relationships, I think Allison has it the fucking worst. Um, okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening to, and that's why we drink.
Another episode.
Another episode of ups and downs. We should just call this show the roller coaster at this
A
point.
roller coaster.
But if you want to find us anywhere, you can go to and that's why we drink.com, and our socials are the M Schultz and XT and Schiefer. And
You
if
can also find M at the Steakhouse Sex Dungeon.
you never will again. At least not when the sun is down. And also, what was I going to say? You can also still submit listener stories on our website and all that for listeners' episodes. And yeah,
We love you guys.
and take care and don't get in any cars with anybody, and
Don't.
see something, say something,
Mhm.
and if you know Musk, tell her, don't go
Tell her I
right,
say hi, wink.
just walk away slowly, just walk away,
Walk away slowly, and
unless you're
don't
into
give
that kind
her
of thing.
yeah, unless you're into it, don't give her a remote control car if you're hoping to see that car again, because you might
Let's
not
just say
ever
if
see
you
it
know
again.
Musk and she, for Christmas, got you a remote control car,
Oh,
I
be
would be
careful.
wary of where it came from, that's all.
Yeah, wash your hands.
And
That's
why
sweet.
drink.